Good morning, kids, and welcome to our last show of November. It is time for some Midnight's Edge in the morning. I am Tom Connors, and with me, as always, is the boss man, Andre. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and I hope you are all doing as well. Actually, better, I hope you're all doing excellent, which is what I really am doing. And how about you, Tom?
Hanging in there. There.
Glad to hear it.
I'm happy that we have Mikey with us, the producer extraordinaire. How you doing, Mexican Iron Man?
Very well, sir. When called to serve, Mexican Iron Man shall put on the Iron Man thong, his iron suit, and his sombrero, and bring his rabbit chicken tacos to serve the great Midnight's Edge Empire.
Armed with tortillas and weapons, he is the man of the hour. That's right. And we also have with us the one, the only script doctor who has all the cures for your entertainment needs. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's -1 in Canada where I am right now, so pretty chilly. I've got some layers.
-1 centigrade or Fahrenheit?
Centigrade.
Okay,
shit.
all right.
Well, then that's
Here it's -12 centigrade.
Yeah, so yeah, like our heat's
that's probably
just,
closer to where I'm at here. Let me see. Yeah, that's probably closer to where I'm at. It's like 23 degrees here. Isn't it?
For anyone wondering, it's 71 degrees here on the island off
Nobody
South
cares,
Carolina.
Mikey.
Okay.
Son of a gun.
We don't want to hear about that.
Yeah.
We don't need that kind of negativity in our cold ass lives.
Yeah, here we're complaining about who's got it colder, and then next time, 71 Fahrenheit.
Just shut the fuck up. That reminds me of when people from like Florida and stuff are like, "Oh, it was so cold this morning. I had to get out my winter jacket. It was 53 degrees." It's like, you wuss. I even called Lorena a wuss the other day.
I hear she has to get an electric blanket, and I'm like, oh boy, that's...
You wuss.
I should try to come a little bit further up north, and then see how much good that electrical blanket is going to do.
I would never call her that any other time than that. This is like, you can't handle the cold. Psh, you don't know cold. I was born in it, right? Like Andre knows what I'm talking about. It's
oh yeah, absolutely.
Winter was the first season I experienced.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Norwegians, the back in the 18th century, they all left Norway thinking, "Man, this freezing shithole. Let's get the hell out of here."
I'm
They settled in Minnesota. They were like, "Oh, this is just like home. Let's settle here."
If Bane were on the panel, he would say, "Tom only embraces the cold. Andre was born in it, raised
Mikey's
in
just
it."
sitting there thinking like, shit, it gets below 40 degrees and fucking nope.
Bro, we Mexicans, they don't know this, but we're born with a little tattoo behind our neck, right below the hairline, that do not store below 70 degrees. You know why there aren't any Mexicans in Norway? Because jalapenos and tomatoes won't grow there in the snow.
I don't understand why there's so many here. It's like so cold. I'm like, I just don't get it. But
actually, there's at least one Mexican in Norway. At least one. Like my daughter has like one of the parents is from Mexico, so there's at least one.
I mean,
I wonder what he does at this time of year. Maybe he's like hibernating till summer.
There's like certain areas where, I mean, I know like certain ones why they're like a large population, because like, for instance, there's this one area where this factory where they all work. So they all live in that little town. So like almost the entire population, because of such a rural area we live in here, it just so happens to be. So we actually kind of call that little Mexico sometimes. Yeah. But like, no, it's like, other than that, like, I can't believe it. How many people are up here that like, why are you in the cold? I want to get the fuck out of here. Why are you moving here? Like, no, I'm going
the
to
grass
Nevada,
is always greener, I guess.
Andre,
In this case, the ground is always whiter. No.
I'm going to make Tom take a vacation out here and visit me next year, Andre, for revitalization.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Can I come too?
Yep, anytime. I got plenty of room. I got plenty of room here at the house. Plenty of room.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
That's the problem. We got a super sticker from Michael B. Speaking of other countries with snow in it, he's from looks like that's Danish krona.
That's Danish krona.
So I'm sure it's pretty chilly where he's at too.
Yeah, he'll know what winters is like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did anybody ever
Not
tell
mountains,
you?
though. He won't know that because Denmark is flat. But yeah.
That's a 14 Danish krona super sticker. I can't see what it is. Let me see.
It's a unicorn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. And did anybody ever tell you look like a very young Donald Pleasance, Michael?
Who, me?
No, not you. This
Oh,
Michael.
him.
Oh,
Oh,
Michael
Michael
B,
B.
aka
Doesn't
Shogun
he?
Gaming,
Isn't he? Doesn't he look like a young Michael Pleasance? Or,
with a
kind
little
of
bit of
does.
more
Pleasance?
muscle, yeah, with like
Yeah.
more of like a badass muscle. Michael Pleasance.
It looks like a Terminator
Or Donald
Viking.
I shot him 6 times.
Oh god.
But yeah, I approve, and tusen tack for the support. And Peter Smigelski also says for $20, just want to say thank you. I took my 9-year-old to see Ghostbusters Afterlife based on your recommendation and advice about the rating. He liked it, only got scared at one part. I thought it was a good sequel and enjoyed it. Why PG-13?
I kept saying the same thing, Peter. I don't understand. And after watching it yesterday, outside of those few scary bits, I'm still asking myself, why is this movie PG-13? Like the insinuation to the consummation is pretty PG, right? Like
Yeah.
it's all pretty family oriented. I don't understand why it's PG-13. Makes no sense to me. Does anybody else have any possible reason?
Maybe
why
the
they
line
think?
"bone your mom." I don't know.
Not even that seems like it would go to the PG-13 realm.
Yeah, I know. It's. I'm reaching here because I'm lost.
Outside of scariness and thematic elements, I don't understand why. Because the second one wasn't even PG-13, and they could have at that time, right? Like
Yeah.
I could understand the first one, like even though that had nothing to do with the PG-13 rating when it came out at the time. I'm surprised that wasn't one of the films that was cited because of there's a little bit more adult humor in comparison to
Oh,
some
yeah.
of the, I'm surprised that wasn't a film brought up as a reason why PG-13 needs to exist. But no, like I'm stretching to find a reason why this one was PG-13. So you're not alone in that respect at all. What's it rated over there, Andre?
I think it's 11. Let me just check, because
Is
we
that
don't
more
have
like-
we don't have the exact same rating system.
No, I know, and that's
we
why I
literally have like
asked.
a number for age. I think it's 11, either 11 or 7. Give me one moment, and we'll find out.
That's why I asked, because I know your system's a little different over there. So
Yeah.
I'd assume the 11 would be more like the PG-13.
Yeah, typically, like most movies which are PG-13, they typically end up with an 11 rating here. Let's see, Dune, for instance, that's rated R in the US, right?
Wow. No, Dune was only PG-13.
Okay, here it's rated 12.
Yeah. So you even
and-
have like even more specific system. Oh wow.
Yeah, and let's see if I can find Ghostbusters. Oh, come on, then.
See, I wonder if something like that here would be more beneficial to people. What do you think, Script? Like something that's a little bit more direct. Like that sounds like they have a rating system for each age, almost.
Well,
It's rated 12.
What
In
the fuck?
Ghostbusters Afterlife, it's rated 12 in Norway. And here's the reasoning. This movie has segments of dark atmosphere, scary characters, and transformation. Therefore, it is rated 12.
That sounds absolutely ridiculous.
That's the most redonkulous shit I ever heard.
Well, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Because
So
the worst
you-
swear word is
you-
shit, and I think it's only in there twice.
Venom, by the way, is also rated 12. And
Okay,
Dune
Venom
rated
is
12,
worse.
So, yeah.
Venom is worse. Like I can see Venom getting that rating, but why would that does not compare to Ghostbusters at all?
And James Bond: No Time to Die is also rated 12.
Okay, well I haven't
So
seen
is
that.
House of Gucci, Eternals, and I was about to say also Halloween Kills, but no, that's actually rated 18. So yeah.
Okay, evidently, according to Six, who is our illustrious I almost said wench. She's our wrench. Jesus Christ.
Just mixing those words
Yeah.
up there.
Can't talk today.
Let's not mix too many words up here. She's our
No shit.
very trusted and loyal.
I'm having a
wench.
morning, I
So,
tell you.
yeah.
Somebody didn't listen to me when I told them to get sleep last night.
I did get sleep, but I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning. Sexual content is the reason, I guess, for the PG-13 rating. Get this. There isn't
Where?
nudity in the movie, but there is one character that is shown with her shirt and bra, which is the scene where
Oh, the
Lucky's changing.
teenager.
Yeah. Why would that consist of a PG-13?
Is that
Underwear.
the reason given?
God, I don't even remember
Yeah.
that in the movie.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
I
like
just remember
barely-
that. I only remembered it because the boy.
yeah, he's like staring at her, and she's like, "What?"
staring at her. She's like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and it's like really quick. Otherwise, it says sexual content or whatever. there's some sexuality or whatever. So I suppose but it's barely between. They like hardly show anything in there, so it's like whatever. Oh, it is what it is. Culture Casino, you have a link, my friend, who says Amy Pascal needs this to happen. She has nothing left at Sony, if I recall correctly. Also, Tom can use I freaking knew it clipped again. Well, I think that's a good place to segue into our first story. Why don't we?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
It appears that Miss Pascal is talking to the press. We haven't heard much from her in a while, but she's out there talking about Tom Holland returning for another trilogy. Now, this would go right in line with what we had heard. I believe it was from Mikey Sutton and, of course, a few others that Tom was looking at another 5-picture deal between Sony and Disney. Am I right, Andre?
That is indeed correct. This is something that we brought up in our live shows, multiple live shows last week, where there were several people independently of each other that asked the question, will this Spider-Man die? Will he be replaced? Is this the last time we see Tom Holland? To which we said, no, don't worry about that. We have learned from Mikey Sutton that they are right now, as we speak, in the process of negotiating a new 5-movie deal. And those 5 movies, presumably, this is just speculating, but presumably would be for 3 standalone Sony movies plus 2 MCU movies. And we didn't know that the deal had been signed as of last week, but these comments from Amy Pascal certainly seem to imply that a deal is closer to have happened. Maybe it already has happened.
Yeah, I heard also from a separate source, same thing, 5-picture deal. I don't know if this includes the Sinister Six deal though, because there was also some talk of that. But let me read this real quick from Variety. It appears that Spider-Man No Way Home will not be Tom Holland's last outing as a Marvel's neighborhood web slinger. According to longtime Spider-Man producer Amy Pascal, Holland is expected to return as Spider-Man for at least 3 more movies in this Marvel cinematic universe. This is not the last movie that we are going to make with Marvel. This is not the last Spider-Man movie, she told movie ticketing site Fandango, and it probably hurt her feelings the entire time she said it. We are getting ready to make the next Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland and Marvel. It just isn't part of. We're thinking of this as 3 films, and now we're going to go on to the next 3. This is not the last of our MCU movies. Representatives from Marvel and Sony and Holland didn't immediately respond to Variety's request for comment. Pascal's comments are the latest wrinkle in an ongoing saga of Sony and Marvel's partnership with Spider-Man on screen. Marvel has licensed Spider-Man movie rights to Sony for nearly 2 decades, an agreement the 2 companies hammered out before Disney acquired the comic book empire in 2009. As the chair of Sony Pictures, Pascal oversaw 2 iterations of Spider-Man movies, first starring Tobey Maguire in the 2000s and then Andrew Garfield in the 2010s. Those movies were, however, not part of Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe until 2015, when Sony partnered with Disney to allow Tom Holland to take over the role and appear in Sony's Spider-Man movies, produced by Pascal and Marvel Studios chief Kevin Feige, that she threw a sandwich at. That also meant Holland's Spidey could appear in several films produced and released solely by Disney's Marvel Studios, from 2016's Captain America Civil War through 2019's Endgame. In 2019, however, Sony and Disney Marvel Studios briefly split after the release of Spider-Man Far From Home, putting Spider-Man's future within the Disney-owned MCU in jeopardy. Months later, after widespread fan protest and behind-the-scenes intervention by Holland, the studio repaired the relationship, with Disney taking home more of the profits and shouldering more of the costs, ensured Peter Parker would return within the MCU. Neither that deal nor Pascal's recent comments resolve whether Holland could also appear in Sony's movies that headline other Marvel characters like Venom and Tom Holland, and with Tom Hardy, and upcoming Morbius with Jared Leto, and Kraven the Hunter with Aaron Taylor Johnson. Filmmaker John Watts returned for No Way Home after previously directing 2017's Homecoming and 2019's Far From Home. The newest installment picks up blah 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 blah. I have to take Peter Parker into account as well because he's an important part of my life, told Tom Holland told GQ ahead of No Way Home, which debuts, and this is all old shit nobody gives a shit about. All right, so there we go. There's the gist of it, and they do bring up the other factor that I brought in, which was the other Sony Spider-Man movies. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody here on the panel is surprised. Mike, what's your initial reaction to this?
Well, I think this is this is a coordinated opportunity to try to capitalize on the anticipatory value of the release that's coming up with the movie. And I talked about this a little bit last night on DC show. And when we talk about box office, we're like, okay, this is a reflection of how did the movie do? Did people like it? What we don't talk about enough is the anticipatory value of these franchises, and that there's a crap load of people that, because they anticipate an experience, will go to the movies for one reason or another. For example, you told me this movie Encanto was coming out. I'd never heard of it, but the last time Disney did a movie like this, what was the name of it? You said you liked it. The other land themed one from Disney.
Oh, I never saw that one. I think you're thinking of
Coco.
Coco.
I saw Coco and I freaking love it.
That's right. It was you, Andre. But
yeah, I absolutely adore Coco.
Right. So there's some people that are going to go see Encanto because they love Coco. All right. Now in terms of Spider-Man, I think it makes a lot more sense.
If I may interject for one little second, I freaking love Coco. Love it. Such a beautiful, beautiful tribute to Mexican culture.
Well, what's sad,
I could not care less about Encanto.
Well, here's how they fucked up the advertising on this film. They didn't even bother to say from the same company that brought you Coco.
You're right. But anyway, so maybe that
I think that's Pixar too, is
right. So with Spider-Man, I think there's so much anticipation for this release. If I were them, I would announce that there's more to come. It makes sense to me. I mean, I can't stand this lady.
Yeah, frankly, and don't the tickets go on sale this week?
Yeah.
They went on sale.
Yeah, actually, tickets have already gone on sale, and many places people report that it's very difficult to get tickets, that it's all sold out everywhere. You know what I think then? I think that they're already fortifying the box office.
I agree.
I can't believe then we haven't seen a story already claiming that it's the #1 ticket sales of all time, you would think.
I can't believe we don't have a press release that say it's a triumph.
Well, already, yeah.
Well, give it time. I'm sure that they're typing them up as we speak for release in the very near future.
Well, joking aside, I am kind of looking forward to this. But Script, what's your initial reaction to this? I'm sure it's not much more surprised than any of the rest of us.
Well, I would say this is just kind of priming the pump for the inevitable closure of this deal, which may have already happened. But in the public side, it's a closure of this deal. Amy Pascal doesn't want to lose her controlling interest with Spider-Man. Again, this is like Disney is making these movies under the auspices of Sony, technically. I mean, that's basically how it is. Sony's got the rights, Disney's got the ideas and the marketing strategy, and they've got the money. So they want to keep that relationship as long as possible. And because Tom Holland is young enough to play the role for at least another 15 years, they're going to keep on doing that. And I don't think Tom's going to reject that offer. It's guaranteed work, and an actor needs that.
Yeah, and also, what other role is he going to get that is as high profile as that one? Yeah, he has Nathan Drake to fall back on, but really between the two, Spider-Man is the bigger. Come on.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Like, he's never going to get a bigger role than Spider-Man in his career.
I mean, he's trying to Tony Stark this mofo. I mean, really, it's what he's doing. I mean, it's the same type of...
As well, he should.
He should. You're right. I would. If I were him, I'd say, you know what? I'm going to Robert Downey Jr. this mofo, and I'm going to do it right now.
Exactly. And so of course, he's not going to be hard-pressed to accept another 5-picture deal. The only hard balling is going to be for a higher fee. But of course, the agents, they're going to sort that out between themselves. I mean, both his agent, they know how far they can ask from the studio. So there you have like gentlemen's agreements. So that's all going to be fine. Tom Holland is not going to demand more than what his agent says is reasonable.
Well, and I said, what is it, last week or the week before, when the whole thing, he came out and said, well, I don't know, we'll see how things go. His little like playing hard to get fucking shit in the papers. That's where I said he is one of the smartest. Like, he plays with the press like a motherfucker.
He plays exactly as his agent tells him.
Exactly.
Like, you're gonna go to the press and you're gonna say this. Have some fun with it. You can do this. His agent will have
plays up this
exactly
what you say. Yeah, he plays up this G. Wilkers all shucks boy next door thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%. Like, I don't believe any of this he accidentally leaks bullshit. No, I think that's all an act. I feel like it's been played up very well. Right?
The stupid one who actually does leak stuff because he doesn't think and is a bit thick is Ruffalo.
Yeah. And then Six did just sent me another story here that I was just kind of insinuating I'm surprised we haven't seen yet. But according to this, from CNN Business, Spider-Man No Way Home overloaded ticket sites.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. Personally, though, I'm not convinced that all of that overloading is from actual audiences.
Well, this one I would actually believe compared to the...
Well, no, I'm more inclined to believe that this one, but still, we've seen so much fortification.
Yes,
of,
this one I don't see them needing any fortification.
I don't think that it needs so much fortification, but I think it falls into the category of better not take any chances. So say that they fortify as much as they did the other two recent movies, but here there's actual audience demand on top of it.
And then we got Michael B. who sent this on Twitter. He goes, well, I guess there is similar features. See, I told you. He looked like
I see there. Yeah.
I didn't know he was look at that, he's got a red beard though. See, it was black and white picture. That makes
proper Viking.
There you go. See, yeah, you're right. So there you go. Let's get into some of these super chats real quick here before we get to the box office. We got Hyper Guyver who says, oh, before I do this, remind me of super chats. Here's one for Culture Casino because he wanted it. Let's see here. Where is it at? Where are you at, buddy?
I fucking knew it. Oh.
All right. So we got Hyper Guyver 2 who says, so with Winston bankrolling new Ghostbusters, what do you think the sequel would be called? Ghostbusters Inc.? Maybe that or Ghost Corps or Ghost Academy. Andre?
It should be called the Real Ghostbusters.
That'd be good.
What about you, Script? What do you think?
Well, I want to pitch Ghostbusters Forever.
That's right. Yeah, that's
reinforce
true.
that it's here to stay.
Yeah. Also, you know what really should have been called the Real Ghostbusters? This movie right here, just to drive in the suffering a little bit more in contrast with the 2016 movie.
What about you, Mikey?
I like Ghostbusters Forever. That's the best.
Yeah, it's not a bad. It'd be nice for a fourth movie to actually use the Forever kind of title for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then you go right into everything. The whole it's basically like the revitalization of the franchise, like officially, right? So you got the Firehouse back, you got them expanding already, and then you follow that up with number 5, the Academy. If you want to do like Police Academy style Ghostbusters.
There you go. Dan Ramos, how you doing? I ain't seen you in the chat in a while. Says I dragged my mother out to see Ghostbusters Afterlife. So did I. Good son. She really didn't want to go. By the end, she made a big deal of telling me she loved it and to make sure I told everyone online how much she loved it. Well, there you go. Yeah, my dad ended up enjoying it more than I thought he would too. So I'm glad. My mom enjoyed it, but to my surprise, she did not know that Harold Ramis had died.
Oh, wow.
Because she at the end of the movie, she's like, who's Harold? I'm like, Harold Ramis. She's like, oh, who's that? I'm like, Egon. Oh, yeah. She's like, oh, okay. My dad's like, yeah, you didn't know he died. Anyway,
you can't expect everyone to keep track of every single celebrity that is no longer with us.
No, my mom's not as into that stuff as I learned a lot of that stuff from my dad. Actually, my dad was always the one who was always into actors and who they were and shit. So that's why meeting Clint Howard was such a big deal to me. Because like when I was younger, he's like, we were watching Andy Griffiths, and he was like, "You see that kid there?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "That's Ron Howard." You see that other kid there? I was like, yeah. He's like, that's his little brother, Clint. So that's how I knew who Clint Howard was from early on. And so when I met Clint, I got a picture of him when he was a little kid on the Andy Griffith show, sitting next to Ron and Andy, and had it signed to my dad for him. So I was like,
nice.
That's very nice.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where I kind of became. He was always the guy who was telling me, oh, that's this guy, and he was in this and this and that and the other, and like, oh, he would always keep up with that kind of stuff, and that's where I got that from. But yeah, so question for Script Doctor from Christian Corlejo. Are you listening, Script?
I am.
Question for Script Doctor and Cameron whenever he's on next, hopefully soon. Do script writers flesh out ideas given to them, or do they have to be fleshed out beforehand?
That's a good question. When it comes to the industry, if if you're doing assignment work, that's someone else's idea, and then yes, you have to come up with a pitch based on that idea. So you have to flesh it out. And if the people who are issuing the assignment like your idea and they hire you for it, then yes, you have to go all the way. You have to do it all yourself, basically all to the end. However, you do get lots and lots of notes during the writing process. So yeah, you basically you do the heavy lifting, and then the people who had the initial idea, they help you refine it so that it's something that they can sell and turn into a feature or a TV pilot or whatever. But yeah, in most cases, yeah, no one really gives you an idea. They're saying like, this is our idea that we want to do. These are the legal things we've done with regards to like writing a treatment or a synopsis or something that they can register. And then they ask, what's your take? And you go from there. So if you can flesh it out well and they like it, they'll hire you for the assignment job, and you end up working on that for a while. I hope that answers your question, Christian.
There you go. And then we got Sakamoto, if I'm saying that right, Mio, I think. Sakamoto Mio sends in $5. Ghostbusters Afterlife was great. Well done. And it was great, worthy sequel to the original. I agree. Let's see here. I know we had a couple more, but we got to catch up. There we go. Steven, a.k.a. Deleted Scenes. How you doing? It says, hail, Andre, Tom, Script, Wrenches, and Chat. Regardless of news to contrary, I am, in fact, alive. Just running.
We're so glad to hear it.
Oh, that's great. You're here.
Rumors of your imminent death or what?
I never even considered the alternative, but I'm glad to hear that you're still with us.
No, if Steven's the guy that if he's not in the chat before the show starts, and if he's not the first super chat of the day, I think he flips out. Love you.
That is true. That is very true. And then Wild Man Beyond says, I'm so happy for Afterlife. Looking forward to No Way Home. Looks like hope for cinema. Well, there you go. You got something to look forward to.
Yeah, let's hope for the best
hopes as well. Then we got,
I hope it's going to be so good. The Marvel, the MCU really could need a win right about now.
Oh yeah.
And then we got one from Johnny Menick, who sends in €5. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't even have message retracted. So I don't know if Google did something, but
he has a message just underneath.
He does.
So two posts beneath that.
There it is. Okay. Yeah. Canadian living in Europe. I watched Ghostbusters Afterlife and it brings me hope for franchise movies. One day we will have Star Wars movies. One day will we have Star Wars movies like that? Hope is last to die.
Indeed, never let hope die. Fingers crossed.
Hope we get some good Star Wars stuff again.
We have Boba Fett in just a couple of weeks here, so if we're lucky, that one might surprise us all. Let's keep our fingers crossed for that.
We can, yeah. I would be surprised if we don't see a really great, fantastic Star Wars movies within our lifetime at this point for a new side of things. That'd be very surprising.
Yeah, with our lifetime. Whoa, talk about perspective here.
Yeah, because regimes will change over the years. So
sometimes in the next 40, 50 years, there should be another. No problem.
Exactly. Pretty much. Yes, absolutely.
I won't even be here in 40, 50 years. We're Mexican. We don't even live that long.
Just thinking for myself, if I work out and barring everything else, that's how much longer I should have left. So yeah, and sure we have someone younger in the chat. Well, let's just say in the next 50 years. So just hang in there.
Aren't you like a quarter vampire though? Doesn't that buy you like an extra 50 years in some way?
Well, we can hope. but I always talk about, but that's like jinxing yourself. So,
true.
Yeah.
Wild Man Beyond sends in $4.99, says, I'm so glad Afterlife beat Encanto. People are fed up with Pixar type movies. I don't think it did beat Encanto, did it?
No.
But it did come damn close.
With that, let's move straight.
That's a great
this week's
segue.
box office report.
What you got for us, Mikey?
Well, it's
these are numbers, man.
Okay, well, I sent them to you all on Twitter. Do you want me to bring it up on the screen?
Yeah, go ahead. You're good at that.
All right, hold on.
You're really good at it.
All right,
you're the numbers man. See, this you prove that numbers are not racist.
I'm just trying to not get fired every week.
Mikey, you would have to do some crazy ass shit to get fired, and 9 times out of 10, most of the shit that I could think of that you would do to get fired, I'd be like, I'm all for it. Let's go.
We are quite a tolerant bunch here, and it takes high treason to be fired.
Well,
Pretty much.
I'm not a treasonous guy. I'm loyalty. Loyalty is the most important currency in my life, more than money, and right behind air and water is.
Look at that though, just barely. What, $2.5 million less than Encanto?
Here we go. Encanto coming in at 27 million. Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures now opened in 3,980 theaters. Average take was 6,700 per theater. We're at a total gross of 40 million. Ghostbusters Afterlife fell from number 1 to the number 2 position with a 44% week-to-week drop-off. It brought in 24.5. Now, you'll notice in blue, these are all estimated numbers because the box office exact tabulations are being done today from the weekend, and the final results will be on Midnight's Edge after dark tomorrow night because they post in the afternoon today. They'll post around 5 or 6 o'clock.
There's still a chance that Ghostbusters could close the gap even more than that.
Yeah, there is. There is.
Well, and I got to give Script some props because before the show, he called the drop there pretty close. He said, what, 41%, I think he said?
Well, when I was looking at it, I said 41, but last week I said it would be plus or minus 10 million, and I didn't think it'd be right in the middle from week to week. Basically,
Naked Fame says that 44% drop is bad.
No, that's amazing.
No, that's better than the other drops we've seen. Like if it's above 50%, that's usually pretty bad.
For perspective, like Eternals, their first weekend had like a 71% drop off. I think it was.
Yes,
that's where you don't want to be. You do not want to be in that negative, like 60 some percentile drop. That's not good look. If you get in that, which is something consistently the Marvel movies do, actually, even some of the bigger ones. I think the only ones that have never dropping off that far were like Infinity War and Endgame. I think were the only two that I can think of, maybe. But I think even Endgame might have had a big drop. I can't remember now. So I think a lot that was front loaded like a motherfucker. But no, even the Marvel movies usually do have a fairly large drop off their second weekend. This is a damn good second weekend for a film like this. Considering it made almost just over half of what it made last weekend. That's great for a second.
It's right on par. It's on par with what it made last week. So yeah, it had nearly a 44% drop. So that means that for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it made around $5 million less than what it did the previous week, which is, I mean, that's not huge, a huge decline, really, day by day.
And actually, it played really well this week for the holiday because I know, as we said before, it did, I think it was 3 million on Tuesday, 4.5 on Wednesday, and then I think just before the show, Mike said it did 5.
Right, and we actually have someone on the Midnight Edge crew who's actually seen the movie Encanto, which is Paulie from Latino Slam.
Let's see what Mr. Paulie has.
There you
go. Good morning.
Good morning.
At least it's better than the way you greeted us yesterday. You're like, what do you want?
No, I was in bed and I just said, what?
And like you could hear how naked you were in your voice.
No.
So you saw Encanto this weekend, huh?
Encanto, yeah.
What'd you think? Is it Poltergeist?
Encanto, I gave an 8, and I had given Ghostbusters a 7 the week before.
You suck.
No, I don't.
No, that's cool.
I really don't suck.
Not everyone has to like Ghostbusters.
I can still think that he sucks. I have a right to think that he sucks for having that opinion too.
Why do I suck, brother? What's up with that?
Because Ghostbusters deserves an 8.
Oh.
Me and Tom probably spent a week. Didn't we spend like a week arguing between Yellow Flash and other people? We're like, it's an 8, a minimum 8.
I'm just giving him shit. So really, it was pretty decent, huh?
It's great. It's fantastic. There's some minor problems I had with it, but the music is incredible. The songs I loved. The animation, I was just like, wow. And it's a good story, man. It's multi-generational story that that the whole different family members can go. What else? Yeah, I mean, I like the characters, so I gave it an 8. I really enjoyed it. The things that I did not. There's this thing in Hollywood and with all movies, as far as the dumbing down of the male. So that is there a little bit, which I did not enjoy. It didn't ruin it for me. It's it's not as bad as definitely other you know products out there, but that's okay because the main character, she's such an ugly duckling of the family. She's such a
Black
um,
sheep.
she's such a black sheep, and that's the whole point. Was that even the black sheep of the family that you ignore, that you're embarrassed of, has great gifts to bring to family. So that made sense. And there's a cousin she has who they all have magic. They all get magic powers at a certain age, and she doesn't get it. She's passed up years ago. In present time, there's a little bit of spoilers here. There's a young cousin who gets these powers, and his powers are really cool. His powers are really cool. Each one has a different type of magical power. The other problem that I had with it was that, and I had talked about this in a video, is defining spirituality, supernatural, and religion. They really didn't. And so it's not a big problem for me. I still enjoy it. But when talking about you know family and faith, they just it's just a Disney thing. You just cut out the religion, keep the family. Where I know that in a lot of Latin America, both have been embodied, have been mixed over hundreds of years, which is um, Catholic Christianity and indigenous spirituality. That's why shamans still exist. Curanderos. My great aunt when I was little, and I had put this in my video. You can catch my video anytime, Latino Slant. I was little. I had grown out my hair. I was a little slant. My hair was really long, and finally, I wanted to cut. I wanted it to be cut, so they cut my hair. My great aunt, she did a prayer and kept the hair, put it in a jar, and did a little thing. And that's a lot of Latino families have those things that go on, of protection. So there was that in there, which I really liked. But as far as like the general audience, I think we got a knee-jerk reaction to anything Disney or Pixar, which is justifiable. That's why it's important for me to watch it. You watch a movie or a television show, case by case. There's just some things I can't get through. I can't finish. Some things, okay, those are pretty good. This for a mainstream audience, you're gonna love the message of family for the kids and the music. So that's yeah.
Oh, very cool. As for me, I really, really enjoyed Coco. And I liked it specifically for the tribute and the respect with which it treated Mexican culture. Well, do you think I like Encanto?
I mean, Coco is pretty good. Book of Life is the better one of those two. I don't know if you've seen that one, but
I have not.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll like Encanto maybe a little less.
Okay.
But it's still enjoyable. And I hate to say it, guys, but the best song and one of the best characters is the John Leguizamo character. Don't hate me. I'm just a messenger. They got
I don't mind.
Yeah, they got a killer song. We don't talk about Bruno. He's the other black sheep of the family who kind of disappears. Great character, really good character. So yeah, get back to me, Andre, because you'll probably see it with the kids, right?
Maybe we'll see. Like, there's so many other things I don't know that I. At some point, it's a matter of like what the level of urgency.
Yeah.
So, at some point, I'm sure I'll see it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that's as far as the box office, that's another argument. But I really enjoyed Encanto. I did not enjoy Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City.
Well, I was just going to bring that up. I was going to say
let's get into that.
We had another failed tried reboot
Yeah.
with Raccoon City.
You want me to bring that up, boss?
Sure. It made like what, $5 million, 5+. Not a good look. Not a good look at all.
Who has seen Welcome to Raccoon City here?
Evidently, nobody has.
No.
No, I saw it.
Oh, you
It's
did
just
see
Polly.
it, Paul.
Yeah. No, I
What
saw
did
it.
you think?
I did a on my channel. I did a voting thing. I had to be out of the house Saturday for half the day. So I'm like, I'm gonna do a double feature. I'm gonna see Encanto, and then people on the channel, whatever, did a poll. Go see Raccoon City. I'm like, no. But I saw it. Completely horrible.
Elaborate. It's easy to say
Yes.
completely horrible.
Of course.
But why specifically? Is
Of
it
course,
completely horrible? What are the specific points of complaint?
Correct. Yeah, I don't mean to just do that one. It's just like my first reaction. Well, okay.
There's more suspense in that statement than the movie.
Yeah, I love when Paulie gets like this because he's such a gentle soul and he loves being accurate as an analyst, and he's struggling with the words to find what's going to hit the nail on the head for us. You come on, Paulie. Let us have it. Let us have it.
So if you like, I like zombie movies and zombie stuff and fun stuff like that, and I realize there's a certain amount of like John Carpenter, kind of like that campy B-level, that's kind of identified with a lot of zombie movies.
Do you mean Romero, not Carpenter?
Romero, Carpenter, Mission, Ghost on Mars. We've argued about this.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, Ghost on Mars is we don't know what that is, but yeah, I get you. I get what you're saying.
I also read that in terms of style, Resident Evil is obviously more like Carpenter than it is Romero, isn't it? It always was.
Okay, I'll
it's like a Western, yeah.
Let's give Paulie a better place to compare this to have you seen the other films before? At least some of the.
Yeah, there's no comparison. There's it makes the other films look like monuments of amazing. It's a wannabe Carpenter movie. So if you want to see it late at night on a discount somewhere or at home, or get the DVD later for your collection, it's just it's just not good, which is as far as silly story, bad dialogue, stuff, they of course they do the gender and the race swapping of characters, which I don't have a problem with, but they just weren't good. But no one was good in it. The lead actress, she has some charisma. Donald Logue's in it, and I like Donald Logue, but he was the chief of police, and he was trying to do his over the top. And then the Leon Kennedy character is played by an actor who was really just so miscast and such a weenie in this movie. He was a cop.
Great word choice.
Yeah, he was a cop. He's a cop who can't do anything right, and they keep putting him down because of it. I'm just like, okay, all right, and that's really it. It's just there's some silliness to it, I suppose, if you let go and let it in, that you can kind of enjoy yourself. But I saw it full price, so you guys can't see it. So you guys don't have to.
Well, and to be clear, my whole joke was that nobody didn't see it because of the fucking box office. Meaning, $5 million it's a flop. It's dead on arrival.
Paulie, I have a question about the movie itself in terms of continuity, because I don't know how many you have seen of the other Resident Evil movies, like the Milla Jovovich one. My impression is that everyone kind of likes the first one, and then fewer and fewer even saw the later ones. As for me, I freaking love the first one. And I
Same.
consider the franchise to have ended it with it. Now, this movie right here, is it like a complete reboot, as in there's no way the Milla Jovovich movie ever happened?
Mhm.
Or could it be kind of like a soft reboot in which it just takes place in a different part of the world or slightly different timescape, so the two can still coexist within the same continuity? What would be your answer to that? I'm sure there's an answer. I just haven't researched it, so I'm asking you, since you've seen the movie. What's in the movie itself?
It's almost like a really horrible Rogue One, you know? It's like in the universe, you know, and it's you know, timeline wise, you know, it's set in the 90s, which they do play some 90s rock songs. I like that.
Okay, so it could, therefore, in principle, it could serve as a prequel then to the Milla Jovovich movies. In principle,
it's total prequel because it's, you know, it's Umbrella destroying Raccoon City, but they're not successful. But you
Spoilers.
oh yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, a lot of spoilers.
But that's okay. We do as in Doctor Strange. We do as in Doctor Strange, where the spoiler alerts come after the spoilers, just as the warnings come after the spells.
Yeah, and I really like Rogue One. I'm one of those guys that really, compared to all those other films, you know, again. But yeah, I actually, you know, I'm in the same boat as you, and I thought Milla was supposed to be in this one, so I was even really more bummed out.
Oh, that was even more disappointing then.
Oh, but you know, it's can I do more spoilers, guys?
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Paulie, right before you do that, can I ask everyone in the chat? We got over 1,000 people watching. Can we get some more likes on the board for Andre and Tom?
Yeah, smash that like for Mike as well.
It really helps these boys out. All right, Paulie, you're up.
Yeah. Let me see.
Since you just got distracted, I will say though, Andre, as the Resident Evil franchise goes, it actually did a pretty good job of going up and up and up and up and up with each sequel. So this is a huge downturn for this franchise.
Well, well, okay. Let me just. I did some research on that because I wanted to know, like, you know, what's the following like. The following is like, and Tom, you can back me up or correct me, is with the last film more in particular that it made its money on international sales.
Yeah, but basically what you're looking at is like the first movie only grossed 102 million, as opposed to the final chapter, which did 312. Now, granted, there's a 10-year difference there, so roughly, or so maybe more than that. So with inflation, that's still pretty damn good though. Like, so at this point, there was an upward trajectory on this franchise from the start. Like, it never went down; it always went up.
And so they're even saying, yeah, this bomb, but maybe perhaps that'll happen like when it goes on DVD or, you know, get the international sale. But yeah, so, you know, the setup is that there's these two, there's a brother and sister that are orphaned and in an orphanage. A lot of weird shit happens in the orphanage because of, you know, Umbrella Doctor, you know, experiments, which, you know, it's really odd. It's kind of disturbing, but I do like that actor that plays the doctor. He's a good character actor. He's in Band of Brothers. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's been around for a while. And he later on morphs into one of the monsters, and that was pretty cool because he like, it was like half his arm and his shoulder and shit, like, you know, had like eyeballs and all that stuff, and he was like, that was pretty cool. But it's like towards the end. You know, they almost should have had a movie just on the doctor. Yeah, so it's kind of just, you know, all over ridiculous.
So we need a prequel to the prequel, is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, again, it's like there's things I just didn't get, like Raccoon City, like, is a small town, but then it's got this, you know, I didn't get the police department structure, like the characters, like, you know, they were like this, you know, these kind of like SWAT team and all that stuff, but then there's the regular cops. meaning that why was the SWAT team even needed? And then Raccoon City had their own security, and and the thing that surprised me too is that there's actually some names in this movie, right? Like Donald Logue, the lady that I mentioned as the lead, she's been in some other stuff, and then the actress who's gonna play Red Sonja's in it, that everyone's all against, that she's like a half European, half Nigerian.
Ant-Man and
I
Wasp.
forget the name. Yeah, she's half Norwegian, half Nigerian or something.
Yeah, she was Ant-Man and Wasp. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
Right. So she's
there.
in this. She plays one of the plainclothes, strike force team. I don't even, they're like part of the police department, but they're such buffoons. Like the chief of police is such a buffoon, and then like like the uniform cops are just such goobers. Then you have these strike force guys. They're all like with the muscles and the vests. I'm like, what? She's part of that, and it's a very small role. Her character is, of course, race swapped. I forgot the name of it, but her character's so. It's not that it's minor. She's in it a lot, but she just doesn't say a lot. It's just more like action.
Yeah.
All right.
Poorly acted, poorly written, poorly conceived.
I feel bad for fans of the franchise, but yeah.
Well, I think that the fans of that particular franchise have been
Jill
out
Valentine
right before.
Thank you.
But
Jill Valentine.
Yeah. She's Jill Valentine.
She's Jill Valentine. Yeah.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, and
Who
then
still doesn't get the lead role that she maybe should be getting then.
Right. Well, that's like, when was this made? Maybe it was made a couple of years ago. Because I'm like, she has such a small role, but she's like kind of like a big character, big actress now. And then at the end, there is a post-scene credit that has a returning character. The post-scene credit is probably like the only cool thing, honestly. And that's a connection to the Mila storyline.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a disaster.
All right.
So far, I'm the most excited about the post-credit scene, to be honest. And that's never a good sign for a movie when the post-credit scene is the most exciting thing.
Well, and right before I went to go see it, Jane Theory had did a tweet saying that, and I'm like, I'm going to see it right now. Don't tell me that. But
good timing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into some of these super chats. Wild Man Beyond says, despite Afterlife was great, we can't ignore some flaws that it didn't fit in with Ghostbuster movies. At least it stayed true to source than James Bond. I don't know about it not fitting in with the Ghostbuster movies. I mean, I had problems with it. There were some flaws, but I mean, as far as fitting in the universe, I didn't see any problems. What about you, Script?
Nothing that struck out at me, but I've only been able to see it once, so hopefully if it comes on physical media soon, I'll be able to watch it and break it down more.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to get into more specifics unless somebody else can think of anything.
Mm-hmm.
No, with that,
I can't think of anything. Like the only thing it doesn't fit in with the universe is the 2016 movie, and good riddance to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people are like wrongfully remembering the proton packs having like a throw to them to where people are like, oh, the kid just like did it and didn't have it. No, I'm like, no, the guy's never had a problem doing it. It was the 2016 movie where they played up the whole like
the kickback,
the kickback part of it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, the only thing I had with the problem with that was like, yeah, that pack probably weighs half as much as she does, if not more than half. Other than that, like there's a few things maybe, but I can't think of anything offhand. But you'll have to be more specific in the chat. Maybe you can specify and we can address them. Super Blubberpuss is here. Says new movie has Peter Parker with mask off after the spell. BS. Okay, I'm not sure what that has to do.
The spell is to make people forget that he's Peter Parker, and yet he still wanders around without the mask on. So.
And obviously the side effect is the people who are showing up are people that he's killed, but they know who Peter Parker is, but they don't recognize him as Peter Parker because he's not the right Peter Parker. At least that's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, we don't know that yet unless you've seen the movie and you know of such scenes.
I don't.
I think we can't make that judgment based on the trailers alone,
Right.
because their things are typically out of order.
Again, yeah. So we'll see. Diego, how you doing, buddy? Says what I don't get is why Disney is not trying to push more in Latin America. There's a complete lack of marketing here. There's a complete lack of marketing everywhere, Diego. That's why I'm surprised this movie made any money. Also, Andre, Book of Life is real solid. There you go. There's another recommendation.
Yeah, I get that. So thanks for the tip. I've put it on the list. Book of Life to be checked out.
If really quick, Book of Life is by Jorge Gutierrez, who created Maya and the Three, which is a 9-part animated show on Netflix right now.
Cool.
Really good as well. A lot more. That's actually a lot more adult, but we can talk about some of that. Book of Life is fantastic.
Paulie and Mike, from the Latino perspective, do you feel like Disney dropped the ball on advertising this movie? I feel like nobody even knew it existed until just this last week.
No, in my circles, no, it's been totally getting a push.
I had no idea what's happening, and again, I'm not in Paulie's circles. Paulie's much more plugged in, connected than I'll ever be in life. But no, I'm being serious.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it just sounds funny.
Well, I mean that's fair because you do know.
No, it is. I mean, I'm just a regular movie going guy.
Talked about right, like, but
yeah.
Like
I mean, Tom, you're the one who told me about it last Tuesday. Was it last Tuesday?
Let's go back. Let's go back. You said you're a regular movie going person in life. So are the Spanish speakers and Latinos, which was a huge percentage of families, whether they're Latinos or not, went to see this movie this weekend.
Right, I was just going to make the point, Paulie, that I just happened to be in South Carolina on Hilton Head, and there was no advertising. I'm sure if I lived in San Francisco, San Jose, or LA, I probably would have seen an ads here or there.
The first and only ad I saw for this, and I'm on the internet 27 hours a day, was before Ghostbusters. That was my first awareness of it. And if you had mentioned it before, Paulie, it just completely because and I'm like, wait a minute, this is a Disney movie opening on Thanksgiving, and this is the first time hearing about this. I mean, I could be wrong, and I'm just not. Maybe they did some selective market pushes.
Well, again, the Spanish market in the States is not really selective. It's pretty huge. I saw
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I saw a lot of advertising in Spanish. The actors, pushing it, Lin-Manuel as well. So, so I don't know, but that still could be a thing where Disney, just didn't spend as much and relied on all that Latino word of mouth, which could happen.
Could it also be that it's more localized marketing in the LA area where you are, whereas they decided where Tom is, like in Minnesota, and screw that, not enough people there anyway.
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, what I saw was online, so I didn't see them on billboards or anything.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you can control that really, really specifically online. Like for instance, of course, just
YouTube has
a short plug here, but if I change countries, I obviously get completely different commercials. But not only that, I get different commercials based on which city in Norway I changed the virtual location to.
I was going to say I get localized ads on YouTube.
Exactly.
Oh, I didn't mean the ads. Yeah, there's some ads. I'm talking about exactly what's a big part of their kind of push campaign script. If you can back me up on this, even a deadline and whenever they're doing box office is what big stars in those social media followings. They always add those numbers.
That is a big deal, yes.
So when you scroll through the deadline TV and film tabs and stuff, you get all those subtle, they're not top tier articles, but you scroll down just a little bit, you start getting all the articles of the various stars, what movies are coming in, what's being done and promoted. That's pretty standard.
And all I meant is that numbers wise, it's kind of a flop right now, even though it was number one.
That's my point. I think it could have done better.
Well, I mean, okay, I'm not going to argue that, but it's not. It's definitely worth to go see. but when you compare it to like a Frozen or even Coco did like what 72 million or something like that, and that was like the low one. So, I don't know why this year there's 3 Latino musicals that just didn't perform well in the theaters.
Actually, Coco did 50 according to this
Okay.
opening weekend, but it might have had an extended weekend. I don't know when it opened.
Yeah. That
Actually, it opened at the same period. Same period. Thanksgiving. Yeah.
But going back to the advertising and marketing, it's all I'm gonna fall in line there with you guys, is that it was very low and it was misplayed from In the Heights to Vivo to Encanto.
Well, and that's
and
yeah.
And when the thing with Encanto is like, play up the music. The music is incredibly just so much fun. It's yeah.
And I can't, and you're right, you can't necessarily say it could have done better, but I feel like they left at least another 10, 15 million on the table by not doing a bit broader push for this.
Absolutely. And my hope is that is that reviewers, can really check this movie out, give it a solid, honest review if they dig it, and get more people there to see it. It's a beautiful film. I really enjoyed it.
Well, does it really have any more what else is coming out between now and Spider-Man then? I'm trying to remember. Is there anything big? I don't think so.
Matrix?
Oh, that's going to be on HBO Max though.
But as far as family-wise?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to have much competition between now and Christmas. So
I
could be wrong.
Yeah, Buzz Lightyear is not till next year, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any. Yeah. We got a super chat from Rod Thunderheart, who sends in 10 Canadian dollars. Says, "Hail, Andre, Tom, Script, Dr. Mexican Iron Man, and Paulie. Yes, my Chi Gung Sifu warns of how someone can actually put curse on you if they get a piece of your hair, fingernails. So Paulie's grandma is right." There you
go. Yeah, great aunt.
Yeah, that's traditional, like shamanism, not just Mexican, but all over the world.
And then he adds in, it's a piece of your energy, which is a window to you.
Correct.
And then Wild Man Beyond has a comment about Raccoon City. He says, "Who cares? Again, the only way to stop Resident Evil is a proton pack."
Now there's a franchise crossover I wouldn't mind.
Yeah,
that's fun.
All right.
So does that mean if Paulie comes to my place and I give him one of my beanies or my hats, Paulie has some kind of mystical power over me?
Maybe.
Uh-oh.
Before we get to planner aspects thing here, we had let's see here. Merlin's Id sent in a member chat. He's at the Viking level. Says, "Afterlife was a nice little love letter to Harold Ramis. I feel like any further sequels would cheapen that." I understand where you're coming from, but I feel like that's why they did this way. And I think Script and I kind of got into this conversation a couple times now, where it's like you almost had to do this just to kind of give
put a
Harold,
button on it.
Yeah, give Harold this proper send off, and then that way, from here on out, the rest of the guys are going to be probably more ancillary characters, or however you want to put it, and they're not probably going to be more directly involved in everything. I guess Script didn't have any more to add. So
no, you kind of nailed it. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Planner Aspect says complete reboot that tries to blend games 1 and 2. That's according to him on the Resident Evil business, I believe. But
it's just not a good movie.
Yeah, from the sound of it, it's just
it's just not.
Well, obviously, it sounds pretty ill-advised if you can't decide if you're a prequel or if you're a reboot, or if you try to do something in between, then you're kind of like setting yourself up for failure right away just there, because it only goes to show that you're not serious about your intent on doing this.
Well, it's kind of surprising because the director has done some other good stuff. Let me look it up.
Yeah, but the director may have been the right fit for those other things. That doesn't mean that he's the right fit for Resident Evil.
Well, and he wrote and directed this too, so...
So that makes it worse, not better.
That makes it worse, correct.
Well, I'm looking at the box office for the other films, and I'm just sitting here looking at it like, how do you not at least expressly try to tie this in with the other films, with how successful they were?
Okay, so Johann Roberts, the director, he did 47 Meters Down, which I loved.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I just think it was a bad idea. Maybe if they'd have tried this as a TV series or something, it would have worked better.
No, I think the idea was fine. It's the execution that's the problem.
Well, that's what I mean.
There's no bad ideas. Anything can be made great with the right execution. And in this case, obviously, the execution was lacking. And if this director was also the writer, then that's your problem right there. He obviously wasn't the right guy to make this or take this to the level where it needed to be. And so, by the sounds of it, it's the worst Resident Evil bar none. And that's a pretty low bar to begin with, because of some of the sequels.
Yeah, and so this cast, I mean, these people can act. It's just, they
of course, this is not the cast.
They weren't given anything.
No, they do their best.
But the Kayla lead, I mean, her name's Kayla Scudelario. I mean, she's pretty foxy, and I liked her. It's just.
Yeah, but I mean, looking at the numbers, like this is taking a major franchise which was doing extremely well. Like Andre, I didn't realize the Resident Evil franchise was doing this well. Like, and they really derailed it.
Well, didn't they do wasn't there like the diminishing returns towards the end there?
No, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
No, it went up.
It went from oh wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Earlier.
The box office.
The last one got worse and worse for each and every single movie, but evidently the audience must have grown.
That's what I'm trying to say.
That's the strength of the first one.
Well, here's the thing: the film, the budget's $25 million for this one. It's already made 13.9. It's gonna make it's gonna make its money back and might even make money. And and that's without Mila.
I don't know. That's a kind of a tall order because it's got to do. I mean, it might make its return on video, but
$25 million though the budget. I mean, look, I'm not.
That's not anything to sneeze at though, because like you got to still look at it as they got to make at least 75 million or at least somewhere around 60 to probably break even.
No, you're right. You're right.
So
they could. I mean, you don't know what.
Could.
That's why I say video, right? But
I mean video 5, at the end of the day.
Opening at 5, it's going to be a tall order because next weekend it'll be lucky to drag in 2.5 to 1. Like it's
so the last one was Final Chapter, right?
Yeah, which did twice basically the box office. Like each film went up significantly. Andre,
it's always the Final Chapter.
Yeah.
Well, I just know that in my opinion, they like. I tried.
I'm not speaking to the quality
of them. Yeah, no, I felt the quality got worse and worse for each passing.
Sure. Okay, the budget for Final Chapter is $40 million. Box office $312 million.
See, that's what I mean. That's a huge deal.
Yeah,
and then, and this movie was only 15 million less to make, and it won't even come anywhere near that. So. That's not good by any stretch of the imagination. Waltman Force on this note.
Says, let me just one more number. Final Chapter, 26 million in the States, 285 million worldwide.
That's a big difference there too.
That's what they're going to count on.
See, because I think Mila's a big deal overseas, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, she was a big part of that. That I assure you. Mila in Resident Evil. That's going to make people go. Resident Evil without Mila, well, the movie certainly better make up for it, let's say. And I don't know that this movie is capable of doing that.
Yeah, and prequels notoriously are never... Like, the only prequels that I can think of offhand that really have ever made any kind of money or any kind of impact were Star Wars and the Harry Potter ones. And they've only done, 1 or 2 of the Harry Potter ones, so that's still... yet to be
seen. That's the Fantastic Beasts, right?
Yeah. And they've only done 2 of those, right? I think so far.
They've done 2, correct?
Yeah. So like, I'm trying to think of any other successful prequel series ever. I can't offhand. They're generally not a good place to go. See, because prequels are just a notoriously bad story. Like I'm sure Script will tell you, you can do some good stuff with prequels, but a lot of times you're kind of boxed in. unfortunately.
Well, in the chat, they're saying it's not a prequel; it's a full reboot.
If that's the case, then they fucked this up. That was kind of what I was thinking too. So
if it's a full reboot, they time-wise at the end of this story, time-wise, it's Resident Evil 2 character. Okay. I mean, all right. I'm not an expert at this Resident Evil world. You know, I went into it like, okay, it's a zombie movie. I want to have some fun. Want to see shit, you know, blown up, or like care about and have fun with these characters, like I have with Mila. Like there's a lot you can suspend with Mila. Here, I could not.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the franchise, so like but Waltman was saying here, the only good tidbits I've heard about Raccoon City was that it's more closer to the games, but this was meant to be a hard reboot. So yeah. Well,
yeah, there was like a lot of like montages closer to the game. Correct. Whenever I see a movie do that, to me it's not, really like I don't know if script how to explain. It's not really like a movie per se, but it's kind of just a
Like
video
an
game
event?
on cinema. Well, it's just
no,
like
I think I get what Paulie's saying. This is my problem with a lot of game movies, or like movies like, what was that one, Hardcore Henry or Harry or whatever the fuck it was, where it's all like POV and stuff like that, where it's like, I'd rather just play the
Henry,
fucking game.
Hardcore Henry,
where I'd rather be just playing a game than watching a movie, because it feels like I should be just picking up a controller and playing a game.
Right. That's exactly what my point was. And then cinematically just becomes kind of annoying if it's too long of that POV. It's like, all right, for a second, and then
Yeah, they did that in the Doom movie back in 2005 for.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, but that was the highlight of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because that movie was pretty weak all in all, apart from like that one POV sequence, which was pretty sweet.
And it was done in like the right manner. It was like, okay, we're going to do this for, I think it's only really like 45 seconds. It's
yeah, I don't even know that it's I think it's more than 45 seconds, but it's certainly not 2 minutes. It's they drag it. Actually, they don't do any dragging. It's just the moment where you might feel that this is getting old now.
Yeah,
they cut it a little bit before that, so it's still like. So you wouldn't have minded a couple of seconds more of it before starting to get tired of it.
And that was
they balanced that really well.
Yeah, that was it was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and the director of that movie that pushed to do that little sequence because it wasn't in the script. And the script was written by Dave Callahan, who did Wonder Woman 84 and Mortal Kombat 2021. And
see, now I haven't seen that, but it sounds like that's how you should do that, right? And I might even have that, because they do that. Did they do that one in 3D? Or maybe there's another one I'm thinking.
I don't remember, but I would not be surprised.
You mean the first one? That was before the 3D craze.
Then I'm thinking of Gamer then.
Yeah, that was 2D only. Oh, Gamer, I think, was like 2008 or 2009.
It was peak Dexter because it had Michael C. Hall, right?
All I know is there's one that it's in 3D, but I've just never seen the film. I just have it because it was a 3D.
I don't think that Gamer was in 3D. I also think that was like pre-Avatar.
I'm not so sure on that. But I'll have to look. Melvin Belliard sends in $10 and says, "Good afternoon, gentlemen." He has a 2-part here, and I got both parts ready. So this Resident Evil movie is closely aligned with the games they're based on, so that's why Mila wasn't going to be in this. As for the story of the movie, they tried to cram story of the first 2 games into this movie. With its runtime, would be impossible to make it coherent. So the reviews saying it is all over the place isn't surprising. Yeah, that's another thing. The other thing with a game is you have, I mean, not unlimited, but you have like literally like 24 hours to tell a story sometimes. Like you have so many intricate things that you can do in a game that you cannot do in a movie. And that's why I feel like the 2 mediums do not generally cross over well. Like the rare exceptions would be stuff like Mortal Kombat and stuff where there is a simple enough story that it translates well enough on screen. Mario Brothers, they attempted. What was it? Silent Hill was the only one they really attempted that did well.
Yeah, I thought so. I know opinions are divided on the subject, but I will hardcore stand in the trenches and defend Silent Hill. The first one, at any rate.
Well, that's what I mean. So, like, it's
what Melvin's saying makes a lot of sense then, because it was so incoherent, and there's just
That is like the flaw with video games because they are a long form of storytelling. So if you
Sure.
wanted to adapt them, it'd probably be better to do it as a TV series because, again, like unless you binge a video game that's got like a 12-hour story and required a minimum of 12 hours gameplay, I mean you are going to be seeing those in segments based on every achievement that you as the player unlock. But you can compartmentalize an episodic series like that quite easily so that everybody watching can digest the information they're being fed through that show. But in a movie, you're getting kind of like overstimulation or disorganized or disjointed
When you only have 2 hours
exposition.
to do it in.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, Paulie, along with Melvin here in script. I think you're onto something here because I've noticed this is kind of a growing issue, not just in this film, but genre entertainment in general. It almost feels like we've gotten a lot of movies lately where it feels like you have to be very into, like, it's like in some cases they've gone way too far with this like inside baseball business. It's like it reminds me of the whole Rocky IV argument I was having with people. I still say anybody who sees that movie without seeing the other version is going to be completely lost on certain things, because this is where we're at right now with some of these franchises where they do this too much in one movie because they're like, oh, people know the story, so it's fine. Remember Batman v Superman, how they rushed in the death of Superman and shit like that. It's almost like you have to be knowledgeable of this series going into it. I think some people were saying the same thing about Cowboy Bebop or something else recently too. It was like you almost have to be. We were afraid of the same thing with Dune, I remember, Andre, but it turned out that wasn't so much of a problem. But it feels like there's some of these other reboots and other things they're doing where they're almost getting too inside baseball on. You have to be able to make it accessible for the general audience on top of the fans. Like you're almost going too far into the fandom, and that's just making the movie incoherent.
Or
so
you just pick one element of this 12-hour
right, exactly. So it's like that's what I'm hearing from you, Paulie, is like you're probably completely like bombarded with all this business to where somebody who's, knows the 2 games in and out, they can probably follow along because they know what is going on, as opposed to somebody who's completely unaware of the overall story.
I think there's several Resident Evil gamer fans in the chat already. Have you seen the movie? And what did you think? Because you know all the characters, you know all the storylines. Were you happy?
Yeah, good call. Let's hear what you guys have to say in the chat. How good an adaptation was this for those of you who were hardcore fans?
There you go. So we'll get to that as we move along here. We got Mecha J, who says that the Resident Evil movie is woke, or he's asking, is it woke in any way, Paulie?
I would say probably like the cast, or the Leon Kennedy. If race swapping is in your definition of woke, and also too, I think what's more was that he was such a weenie. Other than that, it's pretty. No, I don't think so. It's pretty out there. As far as
I think that's the one thing I haven't heard anybody say about it yet. I've heard very few people talk about this, but I've heard a lot of just like it sucks. Like I haven't heard anybody go, "Oh, it's woke," "Oh, it's this," or "It's that," but I've just heard that it's shit.
Yeah. I really woke didn't come across at all. I mean,
I didn't hear anything. Anybody say it?
No, they all actually those cops that I talked about with those actors, they're all got kind of like that locker room banter with each other, which I thought was funny,
Right.
but it wasn't enough, but yeah.
And then Jesus Davila sends us in a super sticker. I can't see what it is now, but I love his icon there of Spider-Man with the cowboy hat. That's awesome. But thank you for that, Jesus. We appreciate the support. And then Meg says, hit that like button and share the stream link, everyone. Thank you so much for that, Megs, and we're glad to see you here today.
Yeah, and you didn't have to send $25 to say it, but we are very grateful for the support. Thank you, Meg. So happy to see you again here.
Great. Yeah, it's great to see you.
Real quick, Richard in the chat says Leon Kennedy is supposed to be like a John Wick combat-wise, but was a bit shiat in the remake. No, he wasn't a bit. He was a total wiener until like maybe the very end. So maybe this is like his origin. He's coming out of being a slacker. Lame. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. And then after that, we have Dash Attack, who says Donald Logue was great as Sheriff Irons. One of the few character changes I liked. Made him less evil, and he was funny. Now I take it this is Resident Evil 2. Paulie, what did you make of Donald Logue as Sheriff Irons?
All hail and mad respect to Donald Logue. He wrote the prologue to Danny Trejo's book, which is out. And that alone. I mean, and I've always loved Donald Logue. Yeah, he was kind of hilarious in this movie. It's just like yeah, he actually had some funny ass lines, but it's like, what movie am I watching? I just like was all over the place, this movie, and he's not in it enough to, no one is in it enough to save it. But yeah, no, he was hilarious.
And Trenchman says, even as a fan of the new Resident Evil movie, I realized this production was heavily rushed. Okay, so here we have someone who's a fan of the new movie, and he still doesn't really like it. Is able to see the flaws. So yeah, that's hardly a ringing endorsement. And Jesus Tavia says for $5, I wanted to ask, a Halo live-action series is going to be released on Paramount Plus. Should I be worried? Now, Script, do you recall exactly who is involved with the Halo live-action series coming to Paramount Plus? Now, I know there's been a ton of different Halo iterations that have been attempted over the years, with even Peter Jackson attached at one point ages ago. But you know who's attached now, and shouldn't we be worried?
I can't. There's a woman who is attached to it. I can't remember her name, but apparently she is a Halo enthusiast and somewhat respected within the Halo community. That's as far as I know currently right now. I haven't seen the trailer yet. I've seen maybe a couple of production stills, which look okay as a science fiction thing. Personally, full disclosure, I was never a fan of the game Halo because I felt the interface was kind of crappy.
No.
Well, like when it takes you 30 seconds to make like a 2-degree turn, I mean, that's kind of a pain in the butt.
Oh, come on. I love Halo.
Yeah, no, I grew up on like Quake and Doom and, more faster paced.
Yeah. The Unreal Engine.
Yeah, on Unreal Engine stuff. Halo was different at the time, and I'm only talking about like the original Xbox Halo. I've never played any of the ones after that system, so I don't know if things had improved or not. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope it's good. That's the best I can really say right now. I don't know as much.
We got to remember that a lot of the Star Trek problem has, the stems from the core of Kurtzman. And
yeah, I don't think he's involved in Halo though.
Right. So I'm saying like that just because that has a problem doesn't mean that's going to be a problem across the board on every production, right?
True.
Like because obviously they're not holding Matt and Trey to the same kind of standards they would other people or whatever because after that COVID special, obviously.
I haven't seen that yet. I still got to check that out.
I said Trey and Matt, not Trey.
And before we move on with the super chats, let's move on to the next story here.
Sure.
Because we have Masters of the Universe Revelation finally behind us. And I think most people agree that part 2 wasn't as horrendously bad as part 1. Very few will agree that part 1 was actually any good in any way, shape, or form. Someone who completely got that the wrong way was Kevin Smith, because he saw fit to speak out on Twitter again, and what he tweeted out was means the world, or rather the universe. My likes are filled with love for #Masters Official Revelation. After part 1, I had to wade through some bile to read positive reactions. But since part 2 dropped, the anger directed at me in July seems to have subsided.
Yeah, because you blocked them all.
That's a symbol for season 2.
And that's why I just put my little quote there. Great job killing the franchise saw. Because, yeah, nobody's watching it now. And he probably blocked a lot of those who gave him shit. And I'll tell you what, like, I disagree, Andre. This half was worse than the first half, in my opinion, because it has more of the intersectional bullshit in it. And oh my God, Amy Pascal's trending. But anyhow, you were saying.
Yeah, and well, we have others who also replied here. Lorena Creole, she says, bruh, the anger hasn't subsided. We've just resigned ourselves to the fact that this whole series was a joke. In other words, some of us don't care anymore to be angry.
Yeah.
And Diego of Midnight's Edge Espanol fame also said, your take is rather insipid. I don't see any true redeeming qualities in your work. There is no true evolution of the story, more like a devolution and a complete respect of all the characters, including Tila and Evelyn. The CGI one has more heart than this dribble. I think he means drivel, but yeah. So yeah, he's Kevin Smith is getting absolutely hammered in the comments, not just by our associates, but by everyone responding more or less. And many people are pointing out that yeah, if you're not getting hate for this, it's because people have just walked away.
Well,
so
I was
I
going
want
to
to
be
hear.
like a real dickhole, and I was going to be like, yeah, that's why it never was even in the top 10 trending or anything like that. But I knew he'd fucking say something then. So I'm like, you know what? I do not need to start that shit with him. Anyway, what were you going to say, Andre? My bad.
Yeah, no, I was just want to hear like everyone on the panel. Do you agree with Kevin Smith that this is so much better, or do you agree with everyone with half a brain that people just have moved on, and most people, as I believe Tom predicted, just didn't come back for part 2?
Let's start with script and Polly. I don't even know. Did you guys see this stuff? Did you see the part 2?
I saw part 2. It was, it tried to make up for the first half, but did not do so successfully, in my opinion.
Yeah. I liked it when Skelly God looked down on his junk to assess whether or not Evelyn would actually survive around in the hay with him, and he decided that sexy time with Evelyn in this form probably is going to kill her. Yeah. I like that. That to me, that summed up everything of part 2.
Yeah, I mean, the other part, it's just a shame because this revelation introduces a lot of very interesting concepts and then goes way off base for how you would probably explore them within a He-Man Masters of the Universe style story. It just kind of discards them or tries to circumvent or subvert, if you will, demoralize essentially what those ideas could be to play it out. And I really was kind of was rolling my eyes when Tila was told, like, I don't need to abandon everybody. That's my choice to do that. I'm just going to take the power and do what I want, as opposed to, understanding what the rules are, and for the universe itself to also acquiesce to her motivation of what the rules are, as opposed to, standing firmly with what the rules are. Like, it's just having her cake and eating it too, just because. And I was like, well, then now there's no consequences. Now there's no stakes. Now it's free reign for Tila. And the relationship is all very peculiar. And I just was not really pleased with it at all.
I think Max Relax, who's also a member of ours, by the way, makes the perfect point in the chat. He says, making He-Man a show for angry women on steroids makes as much sense as me starting a nail salon for construction workers. That's so true. I could probably highlight it. Hang on. So I can get it up here. Yeah, here it is. There you go. See? Yeah, that sums it up pretty well.
I got through the first episode and I absolutely can't stand it.
Oh, but that was the best one. I mean, that had like
the first
Hulk
5 minutes.
Conan He-Man.
Yeah, I know. And then you had what's Homeboy's name? The guy crying. Every man was crying. Why is every man crying?
King Randor, yeah, he.
Kevin Smith cries when the wind blows, so that's why every man in his movies and TV shows cries all the time. So
they either cry or they get hit in the balls, right? That's like mandatory in all Hollywood writing right now. It's like when you don't see it, you're like, oh, okay, great. That's how low our bar is right now. But yeah, man, I was like, what is this, man? You know, like this crying dude, and of course the Tila's mom is
Well,
like,
even
you
the
know,
great
the
Skeletor.
savior.
Paulie's right. Even the great Skeletor was like emotionally hurt. See?
Yeah, so that's my thought on it.
Liddy,
Like,
I loved you.
this is
Actually,
terrible. It sucks.
Script did a
guys.
very he did a
When have you ever seen Skeletor with that kind of emotional anguish, Andre?
meticulous.
Yeah, no.
What?
He doesn't
And
have those
also
kind
that
of
raw
emotions.
emotion when Panther died. Oops, spoilers.
There's only one time that I ever recall in the classic series where Skeletor showed any emotion. Do you remember that when that was, Andre?
It was in the Christmas special
Yep.
when he didn't want anyone to call him good.
There's that, but yeah, that's the one. That's the only time Skeletor ever showed any emotion because he's not nice. He is not good. Leave the dog.
I'll watch the Geico Skeletor.
And then he's
over
like,
this.
all right, I'll carry the damn dog.
You know,
Then he
Paulie,
ends up-
being embedded in entertainment and from the angle that you are, why do you feel that it keeps coming up over and over again? I mean, I've never actually talked to you about this. Why do you feel that? What kind of message is that trying to send, or script, or anybody? I mean, I never thought about that. That's a very good observation. I never thought about that. Like, what are they trying to make us feel or think or prove?
Go ahead, Script. Want to go first?
Just by having male characters cry or show emotion. I mean,
well, I mean, it just seems like it's so. I mean, the way they do it just seems so dumb.
I would say it's more disingenuous in current era right now as opposed to stuff that was before. I mean, the one thing you kind of want to, you want to show, especially like parental characters, like fathers or mothers, you want to show the full range of emotion when it comes to how they feel about their kids. But you want to make it also unique to the character itself as opposed to just being like a cookie cutter thing. And, if a dad, thinks his child has died, but then finally sees them, then you'd want to write a scene where they grab them, hug them, maybe have a tear or two and express how much they love their kid and whatnot. And there's nothing effeminate about that. It takes strength to show emotion, but the way I kind of see it with how Kevin Smith has been executing it in his Masters of the Universe, it doesn't feel like strength. It feels like not even like weakness, just kind of like an emotional collapse, so to speak.
They even got Man-at-Arms apologizing again to Tila. Again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. The thing is that I don't see the reason for those actions in comparison. Like, if you want to show me that action, give me a really good valid cause for me to understand why they would have that type of emotional response. But that was lacking, especially in MOTU. Like, just wasn't there.
You did a very meticulous breakdown of it, like in a very intelligent way. But I did a breakdown of it the other night. Actually, it was Thursday night on Comics Division's channel. Does anybody want to see my little breakdown of what the fuck we saw?
Go for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I
didn't see it. I didn't see it.
I saw it yesterday on your membership stream.
Did you see it? You haven't seen this yet, Mikey?
No, I went down Wednesday afternoon, and I've been off internet all weekend.
Oh, wow. All right.
You got to see this, dude.
Yeah. Okay. So on Thursday nights, I generally hop into Comics Division's channel for the Thursday Throwdown. And needless to say, I was a little fucked up, and we were talking about He-Man, and this happened.
You tell me about MOTU, because I was going to look at it to review, but I mean,
I was going to reenact it.
Right tell me,
actually.
Pete. How was it, Tom?
Hi,
let rip, Tom.
Skeletor. Hi, Evelyn. I gave you everything, you stupid cunt. And I'm going to take it from you by fucking you.
Yeah, literally, that was in the show.
Come on.
You are so
they
obsessed
a
with
kids
He-Man.
show.
That's all you
And
ever
they had
think
some
about.
gratuitous grinding going on.
So I'm going to destroy everything because you're obsessed with one person. I'm fucking everything up. You're a crazy bitch. I'm going to team up with the good guys. Fuck you.
And
fuck women don't
Not
take
done
things
yet.
Oh, no.
No, yeah, this is a very true.
Oh, yeah, everybody,
hold it.
He's
doing the whole
reenactment.
You didn't tell me who I am. I'm dead. I don't fucking care.
Wait a minute, the sorceress died?
By the way,
they killed her
your
off.
birthright is to be like me. I don't want to be like you. Well, tough shit. If you don't, everything ends. Okay. Now, there's one catch I forgot to tell you about. Fuck. What's that?
Fuck.
You can't leave the castle ever. Oh, I don't agree with that. That's not my truth. I'm going to include everybody. That way, I can leave the castle whenever I want. Fuck your rules. Bitch, that's not how the Force works. I can't hear you.
That's literally what happened. That is literally what happened. And that's the thing. She's like, I don't want to. It's like, I don't want to abide by your rules. I don't want to make sacrifices.
Oh, dude, just reenact the whole thing. Just like
Andre
that.
actually wants me to.
You should. That was brilliant.
The birth of a
I'm
new...
writing that into the post-mortem I'm working on.
Oh, that's so good. We got
The birth of a new show.
If I wasn't so fucked up, I could have probably done better or worse. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, people
my
are
God,
freaking
we're gonna
loving
have
it in the comments. I mean, we have like the new show right here.
this
Yeah.
tone.
Yeah,
This,
that's what I'm
that
saying.
right there. That right there, Tom. If you do more of that, combined with culture and Paulie watching Picard, wow, we're gonna have a great
No.
December and January for views.
No.
What's coming?
No.
Yep.
You gotta pay me.
Nope.
Pay me a
Okay.
lot of money.
All right.
It's like the what is that drunk reenactment?
Paulie,
of
I
history,
do pay
drunk
you a lot
history.
of money. So
He does. He does pretty. He does
I'm
pretty
gonna
well.
I'm gonna wait for Paulie's Wednesday show.
Damn,
I'm gonna
Andre put me on the spot.
I'm gonna
Damn.
super chat the snot out
well,
of
you
Paulie this
walked
Wednesday.
right into that one, didn't
Yeah,
you?
nah. Andre, no, I love you, man. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Theliato, if I'm saying that right,
Exactly.
or Theolato, Thelio.
Oh,
Fellatio?
Is it Thelate? No, it needs
Oh,
another I
no.
for that.
No, you need to know.
Yeah, Fellatio or something.
Fellatio, Fali
The Great Mutato.
Thela. I fucking give up.
Well, let's just call him Thelatio and be done with it.
That is what we're gonna call it. That video was from Comics Division's channel. Check out Comics Division's channel. I'm sure one of our lovely wrenches in the chatter, Mr. Tickle Trunk, if he's here, will do us a favor and share Comics Division's channel link. Every Thursday night he does the Thursday Throwdown, and I tend to come in there and derail the entire show. So
And there you see that derailing, and a classic was born in that moment. Just you wait for the reenactment in the post-mortem.
Otherwise I usually bring monkey stories.
Yeah, monkeys are cool until they get pissed off and they tear you apart.
Well, our favorite one was the one where basically they did a big experiment to prove that monkeys are just like people. And if they're given money, they will resort to stealing and prostitution at some point, and gambling.
So there's multiple historic evidence of that. I mean, there are
Yeah.
places in Africa where you can go with like a monkey prostitutes. They have like monkey pimps and everything. So yeah.
It was a hilarious fucking story about, and they even planned a bank heist. It was hilarious.
Don't you love Midnight Sesh where you get like all these little in tidbits of everything?
Mags in a member chat says that on all of the comment reviews, it's called Whiners of the Universe.
Whiners of the Universe. So yeah, I'll see what I can do about doing some more of those. Somebody also wants me to do because I recently did a rant on Fallen Kingdom. So it sounds like I got to buy some dinosaurs too, Andre.
Yep. Yeah, you just have to do that. You sitting at a table and just playing with your action figures, reenacting movies.
I mean, I thought I was going to go ape ranty this morning when you said that one of the topics were sent to me this morning, but oh my God, I'm laughing. That's hilarious.
Well, that's why I said this is worse than the first half, Andre. Like this has got to be one of the most blatant propaganda pieces I've ever fucking seen.
It was so blatant. I mean, like, I don't want to get like all conspiratorial and stuff here, but it's really very difficult not to in this case. Have you ever seen like a more blatant Yeah, I won't even get
That's what I'm
into
saying.
it.
Like, she basically says that, oh, I don't care about the rules. As long as I'm inclusive, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she says, basically.
Yeah, that's my truth.
Exactly. I'm like,
it's basically like I reject actual reality and substitute my own.
Yep.
Yeah. The individual's truth is the rest of the universe's lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you can be honest, but you know when you.
Paulie, you were smart for bowing out at the first episode. Actually, that was a smart decision because
I mean, it'd be one thing if she rejected it. Okay, that's a totally different storyline, right? Like, that's someplace you can go with this.
Yeah,
but that's
absolutely.
not what this was. This was her embracing it, but at the same time going, no, I'm going to do it my way, and this is how I'm going to do it. And it was through all the ways that this woke bullshit works. And it's like, but that's exactly, you just said it best, Andre. I'm just making it worse. So with that, let's get into some super chats. Tennille89 says, this shit so often starts as it means to go. And this Resident Evil production started with, we don't need effort. We've got brand. Huh? Does that feel like about right to you, Paulie, after seeing it?
Yeah, totally. It's so forgettable. I mean, I don't even know what I saw.
Well, it's sad considering it sounds like they were trying to do something closer to the games, but I mean,
they tried and they failed.
Yep. Can't fault them for trying, but you know,
there's effort in trying, so no shame in that. But the shame comes in the magnitude of the defeat.
Then John Apocalypse also has something to add to it with £5. Thank you so much. Says a new Resident Evil film sounded like a total mess. He says 3 games. I think it was only 2 games, but I'm not sure on that. Into a 2-hour movie and changed the backstory of most of the characters for no reason. Well, that could be a problem, especially if you know, you're not somebody who can do that. Like, it's not everybody can do stuff like that. And John also points out, thank you again for another donation, says Silent Hill also had its own characters. Now, there's an interesting point. Now, is that something you think maybe some of these should possibly do? Does that work better for these things? Should they not do exactly the game? Should they just try to do their own thing? But then in some cases, I know you can't, because like Mario, it's Mario, right? But I mean, let's be real. In some of these franchises, you could possibly get away with just doing kind of a uniquely set in the same universe thing. Now, do you think those kind of things would be received better? I don't know. I wonder, because you said, Andre, there was a bit of a divisive nature to Silent Hill. Let's start with you on
that. Say the question one more time.
Do you think that these video game franchises would be better off to do that by creating their own characters and kind of doing in-universe stuff instead of just emulating?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Unless you have obvious situations like Mario Brothers where you can't.
Yeah, exactly. I think that in most cases, I think you're fairly restricted with which characters and stuff that you can do. And I think that there are very clear restrictions on the story. However, especially if the game is cinematic to begin with, I think you want to come up with not necessarily a brand new story, but you certainly want to come up with a variation of the story that is there. So you're a little bit less bound by the cinematic narrative that is kind of like the one that's recommended by the game, because otherwise you're just playing a live-action version of the game. And where's the fun in that? So you have to change up the story a little bit.
Yep.
But not too much. You still want it to be familiar. And it has to have basically the same set of core characters. But if the story requires some radical changes to characters, I think that's where you bring in new characters specifically to serve that story. And sometimes that may turn out really, really well. I mean, if we ignore video games for a second, because I don't know enough video games that aren't on the Mega Drive to be able to compare the detail. Well, actually, I do know one, Sonic the Hedgehog. I was against the idea of bringing the story to Earth in the first place, but given that they did, then they brought in new characters with that policeman and his girlfriend, and that was totally the right choice to do. Because you can argue whether or not it was the right choice to take Sonic out of his world, but if you hadn't done that, you'd be left with a reboot of the animated series that we've had seen so many of anyway. and it would just be like another animated movie. And like, where's the fun in that? If you wanted to do a live action, kind of like have to do what they did. So it was like a new story featuring a familiar character with some familiar themes and a new set of characters to support the new story that was made for the movie. That's absolutely one way of doing it.
That's a great point, because at first glance, them doing that almost felt like, oh, they're doing the old 80s, 90s, getting us out of the problem with trying to, the whole reason Masters of the Universe takes place 80% on Earth, right? Because budget-wise, it's so much easier. That wasn't so much the reasoning here, and I agree with you on that one, Andre. It's a great example of how it wasn't because, oh, it's easier to do it that way. No, it was a much better way of telling the story and introducing the characters, especially in quote unquote a real world. And I agree with you in that respect. Like, it was the best way to approach it. And yeah, I think that's the best way to do a lot of these movies. I know that was kind of off topic, but what about you guys, Mike? Do you have agreement with that or disagreement?
Totally
with that?
agree. Totally.
Anything to add or subtract?
Well, here's my thing. Well, let me take a step back. I'm generally against any kinds of adaptation to any video games almost always, because as someone who has played a lot of video games, I mean, good God, I ran LAN parties. I ran 200-man LAN parties with fibers back in 2002, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I just think it's a completely different experience. It's a completely different movie going to the movies, the cinematic experience. And that's why I love Paulie's reviews on this channel. Plug for Latino Slant. Go sub there if you're not already a sub there. Become a member if you're not already a member. Become a member. But what Paulie does is in his reviews, and we do this, of course, here too, is that in Script's amazing too, is that it's about the cinematic experience. Well, the video game experience is a different experience. You're immersed in a world where you're taking action and things. I mean, just take what Script was saying a minute ago about the Unreal Engine. Things move fast, and so I think the reason Silent Hill may have worked is because it told a story from a cinematic perspective, and it drew on the thematic elements of the video game. And that's why that movie worked. But in general, I think that I'm not surprised that Paulie had what he would feel as a chaotic experience, because the video gaming experience is not a cinematic experience. It just isn't.
Well, and let's get Paulie's take on that. That's a great segue to Paulie. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I just want to be entertained,
right?
And depending on the movie I go to, I know, generally how, okay, here's what I expect with a musical, like Encanto. Like, I want great music. I want a good pace. Or Resident Evil, I want good action, good pace, with funny lines here and there. When simple things like that can't even be accomplished, it's like, what's going on? It's help me out here, Script. It's not rocket science, man.
Well, Script. Yeah.
Well, if you're trying to reconcile between a film or cinematic narrative and a video game is a tricky thing to do, because each video game has its own means of executing the interaction, the interface. Silent Hill, I think, did fairly well, because they decided, okay, it would be foolish to use the characters that the player inhabits in the video game for this story. So let's just take the conflict, the obstacle, the challenges from the video game, and then apply it to a bunch of newer characters that are doing their own thing, so that you don't have that conflict with the audience saying, well, in the video game you can do this with this character, and I think that was kind of a clever move to do. But it is a case-by-case basis. Video games are much more denser story. They have much more options for exploration and success and failure than what you can do in a film, and you have to be very careful about that. Like, there's people even talking about in the chat, like the series Mass Effect. I would love to see a Mass Effect film, but I would not want to see the characters that are in the video game, because that is a very intimate experience between the player and that particular story. But the universe itself, the species, the technology, the other adventures that could be occurring in that galaxy, that should be fair game. And I think a lot of people would love just to live and see new characters and stories within that type of universe. And I think that's probably more in a broader type of video game setting, such as like
Right.
something with Mass Effect or Halo.
Well,
I think
Halo,
that's
yeah.
I think that's maybe the more wiser approach to that, as opposed to something a bit more specific, like say a Super Mario Brothers or a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, where you have specific characters within this tournament
Right.
that you have to kind of be faithful to and execute within the parameters of that game, so that you're number one bringing in the core audience, and number two making it accessible for those that aren't familiar with it. It is to a sense a science to a degree, but it's also a science of art. You know, you got to figure out like, well, what is needed and what is not needed, and how do you pick and choose what is more important than the others, and can you weave that all together to be something that, you know, achieves the goal, pleases the core base that want this, and builds up an IP so that it can be successful with other installments. It's not an easy thing to do, and video games, because of their dense nature, have failed with their adaptations more than succeeded.
But I mean, and you could say that then, just not just with video games, but with book adaptations.
Absolutely, with book adaptations, yes.
You know, because I almost, and this is where, because you know, I have, you know, yeah. So it's the same thing. So it's almost like I gotta like turn off that part of my brain that wants a real great adaptation of the book, because that's never gonna happen. The book is books like video games, like anime, which I don't think should have live action.
I don't think it should be an adaptation of a specific anime, but it's like if you want to do a live action within the universe of an anime, that's different, because it's a different story within a different.
That's different.
Same universe, different story. You could have nods to the other characters, but let the anime stand on its own,
right?
And do something else in that world.
Script. What I'm talking about is turning that part off for a cinematic experience. You know, and that, you know, that it's a different experience. You know, there's very few adaptations that have faithfully, you know, even the Lord of the Rings, which is probably the greatest adaptation in the sci-fi fantasy world.
Well, on the
there's people that are still not happy with that Lord of the Rings adaptation.
Which are few, but you're right. No, and you get that once in a while. You even got guys like Jesse, who's one of our, you know, our co-hosts on Midnight's Edge After Dark. He is upset when he doesn't get the exact, you know, one thing we keep giving him shit about is the whole Hugh Jackman thing with Wolverine, right? Like there are people like that out there, and I get that. But on the note of the adaptation bit, Trenchman bringing up Resident Evil says, I never said I really didn't like it. I'm just worried about its decisions. So again, I mean, it sounds like it's a bit of a mixed bag for some fans, and you're going to have that. Unfortunately, it just doesn't sound like it's. I don't expect this to go anywhere. It's kind of DOA. So we'll see what they do from here on out. Wasn't there talks of a Resident Evil series on television too, something like that? I thought.
Maybe some people might be conflating that with the Umbrella Academy, which is a different property that's an adaptation.
Right. And real fast, I did say in the world of sci-fi and fantasy.
Right.
Lord of the Rings is not sci-fi, correct?
No, it is fantasy. But again, there are sci-fi books that have been adapted and very well, in my opinion.
Right. One of my favorite, I would say, fantasy drama books. I don't even know what world it lives in. Is Never Let Me Go by oh God. Okay, I don't know. I can't remember the Japanese author's name. Oh, forgive me, but an incredible book. It's about kids being raised as and their purpose in life is to give away their organs. And, you know,
is that the island or is it?
No, it's called Never Let Me Go.
Oh, no,
and
okay.
It's an incredible book. Which I highly recommend. The movie starred Carey Mulligan and James Garfield over 10 years ago now, but it's a pretty good adaptation. And yet I know so much more about the story because I'm so deep with that book, you know. But they got a lot of it. They got a lot of it right with, and then just, you know, being a movie script, which is different than, you know, a book. I mean, there are some provocative, great adaptations, that have been done. And even those, they always leave something out. You can't get it all in.
Well, my prime example I always go to is Jaws.
Thank
that's
you.
one where I say
Kazuo Ishiguro. That's right, Natasha.
Okay,
Kazuo Ishiguro. I just get excited because I've read a couple.
No, it's all right.
That.
Like Jaws is a great example because there's the movie is so different than the book in a lot of ways. But to me, the movie is a better adaptation than a lot of films are. So, and for various reasons,
it cuts away the not needed drama that's in the book.
Yeah.
That's the other part too. A book is about all the finer details, the intricate relationships. And a movie, because you have such a limited time, it's about the bare essentials. What are the most important parts, and how can we make those important parts really shine, and the parts in between them work well to make those parts shine. So yeah, you end up losing some aspects of the core material with that type of adaptation. And some people can do it expertly, and a lot of people can't.
Yep. Melvin Belliard sends in another very generous $20. Thank you so much for that. Says, if what Paulie says is true, they ruin Leon because his character in the game, he's a very competent police officer, even though he's a rookie in the game and takes a bullet for someone he just meets in the game. So I wonder if it's more of a kind of because of the fact that he's a police officer.
He's an incompetent rookie the entire movie except towards the end. And it's just like,
Yeah, I wonder if that's more of a reaction to him being a police officer is my point.
Well, I'm just saying, like in one of the more hilarious scenes, which I think either Yellow Flash or Az opened up their review on, I'm like, yeah, that's like the worst scene in the movie. And it's all because Leon's listening to some music in his headphones, and he doesn't see a man on fire walking into the police department. Oh, he's a zombie on fire, and okay, Leon, just all you got to do is look up. I mean, hell, there's an explosion right outside the front door, and he's like, I'm listening to my music. So bad. And this is after scene after scene of them crapping on Leon. Ay Dios. Sorry.
All right. Well, Lord Kamina sends in $5 and says, the reason most game movies are bad is writer wants to put their mark on the series rather than adapting the source material. Well, I can see that being a problem in some cases, but going off of what I was asking earlier, I'm not so sure that's always the worst idea, especially when you got something like Halo or other areas where the universe can be bigger, and it makes more sense to do something that's meant for a self-contained film and characters and a story than it is for a broad video game. Because video game, and not only that, there's a lot of stuff in video games sometimes that you would never be able to get away with in a movie because it's a video game, like Magic Pockets and other things like that.
Oh, and limited inventory bags, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Like where are you keeping all this shit? So again, that's just one example of many. But I feel like it's a good debate. It's a good discussion that we've actually been having between us all and you guys in the chat here for the last 20 minutes or so. So there you go. Jillian N sends in $4.99. Thank you so much. Says both seasons were terrible. Of all the myriad disappointments of the last decade or so, Kevin Smith ranks in at least the top 5. And well, we actually call it seasons when it's actually just part of the first season.
Yeah, it's officially season 1 and 2 parts.
Yeah, but I mean that's just semantics. But Paulie does need to leave us. So thank you, Paulie, for hopping in today. We're glad that you got to give us your insight on Encanto and Resident Evil and everything else. And check out Latino Slant, of course. Do you have anything immediate coming up that you want to plug before you run?
Yeah, a couple things. Immediately, Midnight's Edge Espanol. We just put up a short. Diego's been doing shorts in Spanish, and he's got his Ghostbusters Afterlife. Quick clip that he got. Then we're live tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, Midnight's Edge Espanol. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Take care, Paulie. We love you. Check out Latino Slant as well, guys. And Midnight's Edge Espanol, of course. For
later script.
Your
later, Paulie.
Take care, Paulie. So yes, thank you again for that, Jillian. And then we got Professor Gray, who says at some point studios have to make these people keep off Twitter during the show PR phase. Well, that comes with a price and a problem, because that is part of the push for this, isn't it, script?
Yeah, there's some publicists that really are bad at their job these days.
But I mean, the whole what I'm getting at is kind of what Paulie was talking about earlier too, is that social media is part of the PR.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's also part of advertising. It's a direct link to your clientele, and also the ability for them to instantly respond to the ideas and ads you put out there. So it's very valuable to certain elements within the industry, and sadly it's not going to go away anytime soon. It's almost used as a crutch, really. So.
Indeed it is. I think Mike and Andre are both away, so I don't think they have anything to add to that at this moment. So we're just going to move along here to Neil89, who says, I don't like Kevin. I think that's about all you need to say. That sums it up pretty well. Hyper Guyver 2 says, worst part is Hevel Lynn revealed a new fetish. They waifu.
Ooh.
The waifu? Am I saying it wrong? Waifu. And Andre is back, which is awesome. Because I actually have to step out myself for a second here after the super chat.
Oh, good timing then.
Yeah, I've been waiting for you. Joachim Stark says with 50 South, that's a Swedish krona, right?
That is indeed correct. Yes. Joachim Stark is my fellow, I'm not countryman, but certainly fellow Scandinavian region dweller.
Joachim says, when Midnight Edges in the morning is over, I will watch Buffy starting with season 1, episode 1, and keep going until FNT starts. I blame Tom and Six. Hit the like button now. It's because we played the theme this morning on Mead Radio.
It's going to be a long week.
Yeah, I was going to say. But, yeah, I don't know how long it would actually take.
You had to hop out, so I got the next one.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
At least I thought I got the next one. And then it jumped on me. How typical is that? Oh, there we go. Trencher, staying in the Nordic, says, brilliant remake by Tom. Give us the whole thing. He will. I will see to that.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, like the moment I saw that, I was like, Tom, we're doing the whole thing there. Like, that's our new show idea.
Tom reenacts.
Yeah, absolutely. The TNA theater. Trenchman says, can Andre review Peter Jackson's Halo script? Well, I probably could. The problem is that I don't know enough about the game to fully do any kind of script review justice. Script, are you familiar with Peter Jackson's Halo script? Have you read it?
I think I've only seen the Alex Garland script, so I don't know if that was with him and Peter Jackson or not. I'm not 100%.
I have to go through my script collection to see if I have one with which one is associated with Peter Jackson.
Yeah, because the Alex Garland one, that's from 2005, so I don't know if that was.
That seems about right.
Yeah, because
in terms of timing, that seems right.
Yeah, that one I have. I'm just going through my little database here. Nope, that's the only one I've got. So that might be it. So
yeah, I do believe that may be it. Do you recall having?
Well, we have it. So like we could take a look at it one day.
Yeah, I'd be down to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen all of the Hilo shorts. I've seen all of the special little movies, the videos, everything. I own all the games. I played every version.
Well, there you go. There you have the perfect people to review.
I've got the new one that's coming out. I'm ready to locked and loaded to play the snot out of it in about a week or two when But yeah.
Yeah, well then, Trenchman, both Mikey and Script will be better suited to review the Halo script than I would, because I would only be able to assess the script, but I wouldn't be able to do any kind of comparative analysis. And to me, no analysis is complete before you've done some kind of comparative analysis, and I wouldn't be fit to do that in this particular case. Mm-hmm. And then Mecha J wonders, do you guys see Masters of the Universe Revelations Season 2 ever happening?
No!
Now, before we get into what we see happening, Mike, you already answered what you would like to see happen. But would you care to elaborate on that?
How do I even answer that? Do I see a MOTU season 2 ever happening? Okay, let me answer this 2 ways. Do I see it happening? I don't know how to react to that. See, part of me wants to instantly say, sure, Kevin Smith probably said. Kevin Smith may already be in talks to do a second season. I mean, has it been announced? No, but I wouldn't be surprised because the guy's, guy's a freaking scumbag. But then again, I don't know. Netflix. How much? If this thing doesn't have the numbers. See, part 1 had the numbers, but it also had the rage. Part 2 doesn't have any numbers. It doesn't. I mean, go look at Yellow Flash Video. Go look. I mean, there's a bunch of people that have done this. The Quartering, I think, did one, but there's just not a lot of interest. Has died off. So maybe if they care about the numbers, maybe they won't spend the money on it. I mean, Jiminy Crickets, didn't Netflix just say no to Star Trek Discovery international distribution rights? And especially if you think about Netflix as the only online streaming service that's now releasing minute counts because they're so proud of Squid Game. They released the minute counts, which I think we talked about 3 weeks ago. I don't know if it's in the morning or at night. I don't know. I'd say it's a toss up in the air. I do know that if it comes out, I'm going to watch it before Andre makes me do it live. I know that.
Yeah, well, there's that.
I mean, I think I will. I mean, well, then I don't know. Maybe I won't watch it. I don't know. I don't know if it comes out. Maybe I'll have that Star Trek Discovery thing where I watched season 1, I tolerated season 2, and I just couldn't do it anymore. Maybe I'll have that reaction. I don't know. But I really don't care what these idiots do anymore because I kind of. It is really. I think both Tom and Andre are right. The first part was awful from a like, how could you do this to my childhood? Part 2 was awful for what the messages they're trying to send and what they're trying to do to our culture. But regardless of what they try to do in part 1 and 2, all this has done is fortified my love for He-Man in its original form. It really has. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, same thing with me. But it has only fortified my original love for all of this. But that's just our love, and that has nothing to do with whether or not the season 2 will be happening. Script, what do you think are the odds of a season 2? Because this is something that Kevin Smith said from the moment that it was announced. That obviously, this was like a big event with Revelation. But if that turned out okay and people responded to that, then all possibilities were open for the future. And we saw that it ended
with a cliffhanger.
And spoilers for those that haven't seen it yet. It ended with Tila, the new sorceress, but it's her truth that she also be allowed to leave Castle Grayskull and hang out in the courtyard and continue to be a warrior. And she even rekindled her romance with Adam, who is now known to be He-Man. And since they have a romance and he's not gay and she's not lesbian, and Skeletor has been taken out of commission by Hordak. And I have no idea what the hell happened to Evelyn. I can't even remember it. But anyway, the setup for season 2 is ready. So what do you think, script?
Well,
is Netflix going to make one?
Netflix uses the same metric as the old network model. So if the numbers don't meet their expectations, they won't usually do an investment, because there's a number of series on Netflix that end with a cliffhanger that did not get picked up for a continuing season. But I also think that it has to reflect the Mattel's investment with the toy sales. So if the toy sales did really, really, really well, and it basically fostering that the Netflix series was a good commercial for the toys, then Mattel would probably push for a continuation of this so that they can keep those sale numbers up. So we have to take a look at what the toy sales are for that particular line of He-Man, Masters of the Universe, Revelations toys, and I think that will inform whether or not we get a second season. So I think that's probably going to be your deciding factor at this point.
I have to check initial things too, but I can't remember because Netflix does like to sign things up for like 3 seasons sometimes too. Right?
They do a default of that, but there's no real guarantee. That's the other part. They pulled stuff where it's like, okay, this was number 1 for 1 week, and then it dropped to number 50. It's like, we're not. Yeah, if it can't maintain it for long enough, we're not going to do it. And if it's not in the conversation long enough, they're not going to do it. So yeah, I mean, the other part too is when you take a look at the coverage for part 2 of MOTU, it's a fraction of what the first half was, and that's not really a good sign either. So I would not be surprised to see a second season, but for me, unless I see the numbers of the toy sales, I'm thinking like maybe they might call it a wash and just say that was it, the one-off.
Tom, how about you? You've certainly been paying a little bit attention to the toy sales. What's your observations there?
It appears that the Revolution toys are doing okay.
Oh, it does? Okay, that surprised me.
But here's the thing. There is a lot of people who are not fans of the actual show who actually like the toys.
The toys are good looking though. That's the thing.
Because some of the toys are actually well done. But here's the thing is like I think we'll get another season, but like we were on a show the other day and somebody out of the blue brought up an interesting observation or something that just kind of struck us as odd. Do you know what I'm talking about, Andre, or recall what I'm talking about?
Not right now in a second.
But basically what I'm talking about is when the statement was made that Kevin Smith was brought in to kill MOTU.
Oh, yeah, that.
So if we do get any more, I think it's going to be like maybe 1 or 2 more seasons. But go ahead, Andre.
Yeah. No, I would say like the challenge here is that the reception clearly was such that part 1 killed hype for part 2. Because script, you are completely correct. When part 1 came, that was a beast. It was everywhere. We saw it in our views. You saw it like on Twitter. You saw it in all social media. Interest was massive. Then part 2 came and interest was dead. No one cared. And that's a testament to how badly they messed up in part 1. Because obviously there was a fan base there. And had they delivered what they should have delivered in part 1, part 2 would have been even bigger. Instead, it didn't make the top 10, and it dropped off the map. They have to be able to make it really, really cheaply for Netflix to want to proceed with something with that little attention, that makes that little waves in its round 2, which is kind of like the verdict on how well the whole project is. I mean, talk about like declining or like a scale heading the wrong way, right? Like if it was like a graph showing profitability and interest, this one is pointing the dead wrong direction. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a sequel or if we do get a season 2, but I would be less surprised if we didn't get one. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
That's my take on that.
Well, and the whole killing thing just sounded odd to me because it felt like, the whole thing we were talking about, Andre, with the sale to, the sale of the franchise and everything.
Well, here's like the thing that we have like these rumors of them deliberately trying to kill it. But here's like the thing. When you hire a woke person to do a genuine revival and they really try to do their best, is there any difference between their best effort at a genuine revival and a normal person's best effort to kill?
Probably not.
That's what I mean. These people that did that, they may have gone in with the absolute best of intentions to try to make this as savvy and relevant and inclusive and open and welcoming to all. And in the process, they made something that looks to normal, unbrainwashed people that looks like a deliberate act of sabotage. But that's because of where they're coming from. And as I always say, never attribute to malice where sheer utter incompetence can be a possible explanation.
Absolutely. I mean, it's basically the desperation of trying to hit all those targets of that diversity and equity, inclusion, and whatnot,
Yeah.
and
For
not
instance,
thinking about what that means and how to, reconcile that with normal behavior.
exactly. Or I'll give like another example here. Do you think that that Alex Kurtzman deliberately set out to destroy Hannibal Lecter and the Silence of the Lambs forever in his Clarice Starling series, or was he genuinely doing his best? Now, to an outside observer, there's no difference between actively sabotaging and Alex Kurtzman doing his best because he's that incompetent.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, him and Jenny Lumet. I mean, I'm so sorry for her father, because she clearly does not take any of his amazing narrative abilities. It didn't skip. It skipped her generation.
Yeah, which frequently happens.
Yeah. Well, I think it happens because she probably grew up without a genuine interest in what he was doing, and just kind of thought she would absorb it through osmosis, I guess. And then instead of like getting really integrated and involved and understanding the mechanics of it, because there are mechanics to it that you have to figure out. And once you understand those mechanics, you can make it look like it's organic. And unfortunately, she did not gain those skills. And Alex Kurtzman never had them to begin with. So yeah, you've got a lot of incompetence there.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't necessarily buy that they set out to destroy Masters of the Universe for good. What I think is more likely to happen is is that if indeed it is accurate that Mattel is about to lose Masters of the Universe for good, and that may be the case. We are still trying to verify if that's the case or not, and it's turning to be pretty difficult. So if you have any documents, then feel free, send them our way. But anyway, what I think is much more likely to have happened here is that the people at Mattel may know that this is their last shot at Masters of the Universe. It is do a blitz now, get whatever money they can out of it right now, because before long it's Universal's forever and they will never be able to benefit from it again. And if they in the process overexpose it, so it takes a while before Universal can go in and earn money from it, then so much the better. Yeah. But I don't think that they deliberately set out to, we're going to destroy this. Yeah,
that's why
I don't think so.
That's why I meant to have you actually explain that.
Yeah.
But thank you. Tennille89 sends in $5. Says, I put a lot of effort into building a rocket, but at the end of the day, it would still explode.
Exactly. That's our point. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Alex Kurtzman, he no doubt put in a lot of genuine effort into both Clarice and to Star Trek Discovery. He tried to make them as perfect as the Saturn V, but instead he made a dirty bomb, and they both blew up on sight.
He knew what it looked like on the outside, but had no idea how it functioned on the inside, and that's
exactly
that's where you go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. There's a pointy end on top, but there has to be some explosives in there somewhere, right?
Yep.
The Melvin Belliard just firing them in here today. Thank you so much. Says, I just thought about this now. If they explained it and I missed it, okay, but if a sword is a conduit for the power, then isn't the power tied to... Yes, thank you. This was another...
Okay, Melvin, here's like the thing. You might not have understood it, and you know who else didn't understand it? The writers. Because it's clear from the writing that they were making it up as they go along.
That's what I'm saying. It's not that I don't understand it. I understand it. It just, you have to set up the rules, right? Like, is it Adam or is it the sword? Because traditionally, the sword don't do shit for nobody but Adam, but at the same time, nobody would know, because the only people who know about Adam's secret are the select few. So to Skeletor, how would he know it would be a conduit to the power? Hence, that's why I say they contradict themselves in this show. Either Adam is the power or the sword is.
The sword is the key. Both. Adam is the lock, and the sword unlocks the He-Man, and that's basically what it is. And the same thing for She-Ra. It's within them. The sword just unlocks it outwardly. It's not power drawn from somewhere else into them. It's very Yeah, they muddled it up in MOTU a lot.
And again, if you want to make that the rule, that's fine, but you have to pre-establish that.
You got to make it concrete, yeah.
Exactly, and then you cannot have Savage He-Man. Then you can't have both. It just doesn't make sense. Corsair, like, I mean, you can have Savage He-Man if Adam calls on without the sword, but then the sword itself isn't the power; it's He-Man. Right?
I'm still gonna go with Sasquatch Bigfoot He-Man.
Maybe that, I don't know if that'll stick as well as Rabbit Chicken, but we'll see. Corsair Raven sends in $5. Says, "Try, please." They didn't try. I can make amazing story for Trilogy. Hell, I did it in high school for fun. I won an award for writing. Well, there you go. And again,
you probably could do better.
A lot of people probably could, unfortunately, and that's the sad part.
That is the sad part. That most fan fiction out there is probably going to be better. It's a sad state when that happens, but in this case, I mean, this series is like bad fan fiction. It's Ted BSL is bad fan fiction, and you don't want Ted BSL is bad fan fiction, but sadly, that's what we got.
Yeah. And then Michael Miller says the key to good video game adaptation is to get novelization based on the game fully commissioned first, adapt the novelization. Maybe
that's one method. Yeah. It's not always guaranteed, but it is one method. Right. Yeah,
exactly. Then Tennille says, unlike other narrative forms, games require agency.
That's true. The individual himself. Yep. You can play a good character in a video game, or you can play a bad character in a video game. We have those options. You can also be someone in between. There's a lot of variables within the game and the player that you don't get in a narrative like a book or a movie. Even in the Choose Your Own Adventures, it's still kind of restrained.
That's what I mean by it doesn't translate all the time that well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then we got Kaiju King Gabriel, who says, well, it depends on execution. With book adaptations, Aragon could have been a good franchise had they done the first film right. The books are great. Well,
that's exactly right. It's all in the execution. Mm-hmm. It's all in the execution.
Absolutely. Patrick Mulligan sends in $5 Canadian and says, Arcane, The Last of Us will lead the way for video game adaptations by showing that the TV series format is the best way to adapt and expand on a video game story. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier too. That's the other problem you have with gaming, games in general. They're like generally a long form story. So that speaks more to something like a TV series generally anyway, especially if you want to adapt something like that. Like another example is like stuff like Red Dead Redemption, right? The cinematics in that are great. And that's one of the few games where I could say, yeah, I could probably watch that game. Right, because there is so much to the actual cinematic part that's the gameplay is kind of separate from that. Like, yeah, like I would love to see a TV series in that universe or with those characters or what have you, but it'd have to be like a TV series. I don't think a movie could do it justice. So I don't know if you guys agree, but like I think a lot of times we like that with the long form that works better.
I love the horses in Red Dead.
I like horses.
Yeah, I love the horses and the pistols.
What about you, Script?
I don't play many video games, but
I just meant to like as video games in a long form working as a series.
Oh, Mikey, yeah, I spoke about it earlier, like almost an hour ago. Yeah, I was saying video games are far better suited for a long form, like a mini series or an extended series in TV format than film. You have more time to play around with. You can go at a better pace.
Yep.
And audiences can better digest the information as opposed to have it being front loaded or, as Polly was saying, just very convoluted and confusing within Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
There you go. And Andre, your countryman, is sending in 100 Norwegian krona. Paulus Plain.
Yeah, and he says, in the future, the studios should have contracts. To the cast and crew, do not badmouth the fans. Yeah, it's surprising it isn't there, and that can only lead me to speculate that with a regular frequency it's been happening, that they must be okay with it. Certainly up until very recently.
Yeah, seems that way.
Yeah, I mean, just look at like Marvel Comics writers, which still are on Disney payroll. I mean, how many times have they not viciously attacked the fans? A little bit too many, so someone must be okay with it.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay, screw you, we won't.
And they didn't.
They didn't. And
and I haven't. And we didn't. and I didn't, and I won't.
Yeah.
Grand Wazoo says, "Great stream, gentlemen. My only question is, what does Mattel say to this mess?" Oh, well, I think we kind of covered a lot of this already, but I really feel like Andre's onto something because this has been one of the strangest through all the things. I mean, I wasn't a big part of the whole Ghostbuster thing here, but like past that, beyond that, of all the things that we've investigated since then, including Star Trek and whatnot, which has one of the more convoluted ones, He-Man is proving to be worse.
Yes, much worse.
And we are talking so convoluted because I know
we've been talking about a video for months about us going through the details of like the He-Man rights. The reason we haven't put it out yet is this is more difficult. We are really struggling to find, like, we have good theories, but we don't go on videos on theories. Not
and every time we get close
try to find, yeah, exactly. Then we get like more questions.
Yeah, and we actually talk to somebody who knows something, and then we get more questions off of that because they can't give us a direct answer, or it comes down to, well, yeah, we know that the entertainment rights are over there, but we're not so sure about the toy thing. Like, and it's like, okay, well, then what about this and what about this, and like we get 10 more questions after that. So like, and we get, well, and then they'll be like, well, I don't have the answers to that. You may have to talk to so and so and so and so. Well, then we'll try and get a hold of so and so and so and so, and then so and so.
And the challenge here is that many of these things that we need to find and verify documents. These are like board documents and shareholder statements from the freaking 90s.
The big thing
they're
is
not so hard to come. They're not so easy to come by.
I think the most glaring thing, though, Andre, is that we're not getting any straight up like denials on a lot of things.
That is the really intriguing thing, because like if it was like, oh no, this is ridiculous. That Mattel is losing all rights. That's insane. Like, go get bent. We haven't got a single thing like that. We've only gotten like this. Yeah, well, not really, and think it's so, and maybe not. No clear denial. So something is definitely up there.
So the simplest version I can
Something's going on.
And this is me positing off of everything we know, and this is the quickest, simplest version I can come up with. The rights were sold at one point back in the 90s, and it was because they thought the franchise was dead, and they had so many X amount of years to work on it before all rights reverted, because there were so many different splits and different rights out there, and they finally worked all that business out because Filmation was bought up by Hallmark, and all these other things happened in the meantime, and they owned certain rights to certain characters, and more specifically in the She-Ra side of things. So like,
She-Ra has already crossed over. So like Mattel is basically out of the She-Ra business. And so don't you think that's a good thing? Because the ones who own it are DreamWorks, or rather it's actually Universal by way of DreamWorks. So that Netflix She-Ra series, well, that was the new the new take on it by the new owner.
Let me put it to you this way. When we went through how the rights changed hands so many fucking times, we almost need to get the company man or company guy or whatever his name is. I wonder if we can get a hold of him and see if he can't help us do that portion of that video, because I think that'd be hilarious, because he does a great job of breaking down how, I'm sure you know the guy I'm talking about on YouTube, but like how many times that the franchise changed hands. And that's why I think we're running into so many problems. But what I think is happening is the entertainment rights are already over there. Right now, Mattel has a first right of refusal. But everybody knows once the rights go to, because this is the closest I ever came to anything, and somebody told me this, was that they know once the rights revert to Universal, that they're fucked. They're not going to be able to do anything with them, because Universal is notorious for not allowing anybody to do anything with shit. So that's why they've got to get this MOTU movie done over at Netflix. That's why they're doing as many of these shows pounded on top of each other as they can. That's why they've released endless amounts of figures in the last few years, different lines and all that kind of business, because they are trying to cash in as much as they can before it's all said and done. And I think that's the case. And even if after this reversion and they still hold on to a first refusal right, that still doesn't mean that they're going to make things going forward. That just means that Universal just has to say, hey, we're going to make a toothbrush with He-Man on it. Do you want to make it or not? And then it's up to Mattel. And if they say no, then that means Universal then can go shop it out somewhere else. That's my understanding of things going forward.
Yeah, such as with their fiercest competitor. Imagine He-Man toys from Mattel's fiercest competitor.
And actually,
Can
that's
happen.
how my understanding of things now. And my point is once this, and now it's getting closer to 2 years. It was 3 years when we first started investigating this. Once we get to the end of the 2 years deal here, when everything reverts, at that point, from my understanding, and I think that the She-Ra property is a little bit more proof of that, is that Mattel will have no say over any kind of figures going forward.
None whatsoever.
So again, that's a big if we can find out what the hell's going on. So yeah.
Yeah.
But moving on, we also have, I think, a few more super chats here before we wrap up. Sean Carter sends in $5 and says, woke writers rebooting franchises always end up like that Jesus painting restored. Yes.
Oh God, that was tragic. Yeah.
Oh Lord. Yes, I know what you're talking about, Sean. Cecilia Jimenez. To see, yeah. Should we bring it? Does anybody have that handy, or should I bring it up?
No, but I know I can see it in my head quite vividly. I've seen it before many times. Yeah.
I see George in the chat. He also has a link if he's not busy, but we're gonna be wrapping up soon either way.
You mean you see George?
Yes.
That came a little. That's a little out of the jungle, but I tried.
A little bit.
I was literally just thinking that, but yeah.
I'm trying. I'll work on that, Andre, for next time.
I mean, this has been memed so many times that I can't believe most people haven't seen this, but just the same, for those who don't know, maybe this is what Sean is referring to here. This famous painting of Jesus. On the left is what it looked like pre-restoration. On the right is Sally.
Oh, good Lord. What the?
Got demonized, right? Yeah.
What the? Oh, no.
Not good.
Wow.
Was it done by Janosch?
Yeah. Everything you're doing is wrong. I just thought you should know this. No, Janosch would have done a much better job than that.
Yeah.
He actually seems like he's probably pretty good at his job. Matthew W. says, Disney in general hates its fans. Even their top travel agents are openly talking about it now. And thank you, Matthew, for being a member as well. And yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on. Like, here's the thing that's funny about this, Andre, and I know this is not exactly on topic, but it is on topic-ish with what Matt's saying here, is how many people I've been hearing within the in our groups that cover the park side of things. You know how much they used to hate Chapek? Now that
loads.
Now that he's like doing other stuff, I'm curious what the fuck's going on in the park side of things, because it seems like it's gotten worse.
It appears that way. I mean, when you follow some of the stuff like Lorena tweets with regards to some of the parks that she goes to and the visits that she has, it's not the Disney stuff that is the highlight for her. It's the other parks that are more entertaining.
Well, I'm just saying, like, so as bad as maybe Chapek was doing in the parks, maybe he wasn't doing as bad as I hate making it sound like we're the Chapek apology.
Well, the problem, hold on. The flip side of this thing is that here's the bad news about accountants, people in my industry, especially with things like capital expenditures and capital budgets, is they hate investing in this stuff. And he canceled and didn't invest in all kinds of stuff. And he absolutely is the villain as to why the park going experience is what it is and is what it isn't. And he's a penny pinching, profit generating. The last time I went to Disney pre-lockdown, and as I've said on other shows, my family's always had season passes and stuff. I don't know what my sister, I'm going to find out at Christmas because I'm going to go home. I don't know I don't know if she bought the new ones that they came out on, but the experience there is, it's just like Lorena says. It's like you go in there and there's no magic and there's no fun. It feels like every time you turn, they're trying to suck money out of you one way or another. If it's through another turkey leg or this or that, every time you turn around, it's like walking into a Walmart where there's someone inside there that's asking you if you want to buy something. Like, it's just in your face. There's no enjoyment of a magical park experience.
Which is funny because you'd think they could have been able to do the opposite by now, because in the world we live in with cell phones and credit cards and all that business, it's almost like they could take that evasiveness, and move that out of the equation, and you just pay a big bill at the end, or it comes off without you knowing it, like a microtransaction, and then, like that kind of thing, just to get that out of the way of the experience. But I don't know. I've never been to any of these parks, so I can't speak to that. I'm not fortunate enough to have been able to. So Let's see here. We're gonna be moving on to the next super chat now. STR Red Wolf sends in $10. Welcome. Says Disney has gotten so bad that it had to invent a queuing wait in line system to ride the popular rides and get other rides ridden. See Defunct Land's video about this. Yeah, somebody sent this to me. It may have even been.
Hello?
I
Did
think
Tom disappear?
Tom's mic fail on him there.
Yeah, well, it seems like it. But anyway, yeah, just moving on from there, STR Red Wolf is giving a great recommendation in Defunct Land. That's a great channel, which I highly recommend. So yeah, go and see them for the latest videos about that, and maybe you'll be able to deduce what Tom was about to say before he strategically disappeared there. And in disappearing so strategically, let's see if we can find out exactly where he was and continue from there.
Yeah, I can help you.
Yeah. If you oh, here we go. I found that one, and that's just going to the next one. Here we go. Trenchman says, "God help Lilo and Stitch when woke Disney reboots." They're not going to reboot that one because that one is diverse already, and they only reboot like non-diverse stuff for the most part.
Right.
Because there's no brownie points in it for making something that was already diverse. And with that, I believe that we may be fully caught up here.
Yep.
Yeah, and Erik Runge Madsen, another fellow Norseman, says, Tom got moused. Yeah, certainly seems like it. He was about to say something the mouse didn't want. Can't have that. And with that, since we are fully caught up, and I know that you both have deals and other matters awaiting, so do I actually, and we're caught up here, I would like to say thank you to everyone for joining us for the stream. Of course, we'll be back again on Wednesday. But until then, there's Toxic Femininity later tonight. And a little bird told me that Cameron Pasha will be making an appearance. So plenty of reasons to go check out the Toxic Femininity later tonight. Until then, I want to say thanks to Paulie for popping in. Check him out at Latino Slant. Link is in the description. Also, of course, check him out on Midnight's Edge Espanol. Go head on over to that channel, subscribe, and see the live show there tomorrow and videos that keep on coming. And Script Doctor, thanks for joining us. Where can people find you? Of course, the link is in the description as always. But tell them anyway. And what are you working on?
Well, thanks so much. So thank you for having me on this morning. You can find me on Twitter at ScriptDoctorPhD and my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ScriptDoctor, where just after the Christmas holidays, I should have some videos popping up of other reviews and analyses of TV shows and films. So if you're interested in that, give my channel a look. And if you like, I appreciate the subscription.
Awesome. And Mike, our loyal producer, who is such a huge help between the scenes, both for us and for all your other favorite channels. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Do you want to highlight?
No. Do you want me to queue up Midnight Edge After Dark tonight? Thomas back. I was just about
Thomas
to
back again. He escaped the mousetrap.
Woohoo!
I don't know if it was StreamYard or the internet, but yeah.
Well, with that, is it time for some rain?
Is it already? Good.
Yeah.
I think so,
It's raining
Tom.
these days.
It is raining. It's raining on poor koalas. Thank you so much, kids. Take care of yourselves and each other. And
What? Koalas in the rain.